farmer set it up, had to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Took the way you saw the world, then distorted it. Now you think you wanna rock and twirl, somewhere orbiting. Theories disproportionate, the truth distorted quick. With a forceful grip, they force a misinfo that we absorbing quick. Took the people's signature to mean extorted it. They forging it, if news anchors informants who informing them. There's a surplus, but they tell us there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what's important is this, we porting ships, important gifts, of course it is. But extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks we ignoring, which informing this, informing this. It looked like we were snoring tricked. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilify those insubordinate. Way to matrix engineer, that's unfortunate. Geopolitically, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Rappers actors say they high, say they sip with pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? In a world. What up, Familia? Oh, my shirt is super loud. What you gonna do? So, yeah. Shout out to my boy. Make sure I get your screen name right. Pops the Legend for the donation on Cash App. Thank you very much, brother. Help a brother pay the bills, your feels. Yeah, so I read a comment on my stream yesterday, and honestly it hit me, bro. It hit me where I was like, damn, this dude is right. I can't even front. So I'm gonna show the comment. Same type of idea what Twit just said in the chat, which is, you know, FED is super weird, just ignore them. And I can't really disagree. So I want to find it. Let me add a stream. In a world. Okay. Here, what we'll do is like I said, this is a good way to start the stream. There's a comment. There we go. Here it is. And like I said, I agree with the comment. It hit me, bro. I was like, dang, bro. So it says, I just wouldn't engage. There's a part of your audience, the non-toxic part, that doesn't and would never entertain the little time-wasting bees you talk of. I have no idea who they are, and all this video did was to bring such triviality in my consciousness. Totally unnecessary, man. Stop entertaining any of it.
And to excuse yourself is to accuse yourself. For what? They are being contrary for sportmen. It's a complete waste of life and energy to engage in such insipid nullities. This guy's vocab's crushing me. So yeah, I have to admit that is it's a comment that rings true. You know,
you must have a continuous, perpetual electric current to have an electromagnetic field. I realize.
Oh, shout out to Cammy.
Alley here, but
you're a legend, becoming a miswit. You little miswit, you. Thank you for signing up for a membership. Greatly appreciated. The comment's legendary, bro.
What did fucking happen
and
to me?
It's very true.
That fucking core.
And so
the core
you
of
might be
spinning
like,
nickel.
Then why are you doing this again?
Point.
Well,
what did happen to be that? Is that where you're getting it from?
There are many thousands of people who are keeping up with this. And I just want to address it for the...
Oh, that's what I said down here. Sorry.
The argument aspect of it.
If the Earth has an electromagnetic field,
I began to do it yesterday. And yeah, it does suck. It sucks that back-to-back streams on my channel are going to be...
And you don't know what you're talking about, you get compromised.
I just want
idiot contradictions with
every
recording
in the background.
That's what's happened to you for 4 hours.
What? QE audio
while you're championing it.
Sorry. That's weird because I don't even hear the audio. Yeah, hopefully you guys aren't still hearing it. In the world. Is it over? Okay, good now. Sorry. I didn't know that happened, bro, because the site's muted. That's super weird. Anyway, it was someone talking energy in the world. Oh, by the way, I heard some people saying, bringing up the song. It's like, yo, I'm about to drop some bangers, bro. You guys just wait. I was coming up with some bars in my head earlier. We're gonna drop some bangers. I've never really tried to. But we're about to. Okay, so we're going to address it. We're going to address the arguments because, in case you don't know, this is the thing, right? We're talking about something called the ether. I've defined it with the preface that it's just a logical framework, but ether is proposed to be this background to our perceivable material world, and it interacts with it, and it's where all the energy comes from, all the energy that we have in the world. So electricity and magnetism, electrostatics, even light, it has this interaction with this background medium. This was the framework used to discover a lot of stuff about electricity for a long time, and it was thrown out as a framework because of the heliocentric model, because we had observations that showed that the Earth wasn't orbiting the sun if there was, in fact, this ether in electrical field theory. Did you trademark it in a world? I think it's difficult to trademark it. So, yeah, I just thought it was funny. I'm not going to lie, that was funny. Yeah, but it was. I don't do. Q was talking over me. How dare you? All right, anyway, so we're going to get into it. We're going to cover some of it. But basically, I think it's super low vibration. You know, it's kind of like, have you guys ever seen Hey Arnold? It's like Hey Arnold. You guys ever seen the show Hey Arnold, bro? Okay. It's like this episode of Hey Arnold. Right here. Where she acts like she hates Arnold, right? But she stalks him and she makes a little statue of him and like secretly worships him. Right, that's the vibe I get with like globe or anti-flat earthers and kind of with this, right? And it's where, you know, it's whatever. I think that the way you deal with a Helga is you ignore them. You see what I'm saying? So this will be the last time that I address it. I said that yesterday, but then if you watch the stream, you saw where I was like, oh man, I don't have enough time to finish it. And by the way, this is literally the anti-flat earthers. Like, you're so stupid. I've watched every single one of your videos. You're such a stupid flurf. I literally watch you talk on a microphone to different cities over and over and over. So, I'm not asking anyone to shun anyone or anything like that. I don't even care. That comment was very eye-opening to me because people were like, I don't even know who that is. And then people were jumping in like, who's FED? And it's a very eye-opening thing. I guess I just kind of assumed a lot of people did because Eddie Bravo shouted him out and blah, blah, blah. So we're going to just get into the argument. And this is it has a bit of a personal undertone, right? Because me and this guy allegedly used to be homies and all this stuff. And so I don't want to bring drama to the show. We're going to try to focus on the argument itself. And so I have a presentation called The Ether. A lot of people have been asking me to redo it. So maybe in a day in the future, I'll redo the stream with this type of setup, with this audio, where we discuss the Ether presentation in depth. And in short, a lot of people have been trying to gatekeep this truth, and it's about energy. It's about understanding energy, electrical field theory, electricity, understanding it. And if they lied about the earth, which they clearly did, you can prove that, by the way. Like 100% what they said the earth is not what the earth is. And people always ask, well, why would they lie? Why would they lie? Think about it. What could be a much bigger motivation than if there's a toroid of energy encompassing the earth that you can tap into? A vortex within a toroid of energy around us that you can tap into. You have endless potential all around you, and you can tap into it and manifest it. If you were a powers that shouldn't be, if you were a structure that wanted to control people, what greater motivation could you have to deceive people than to hide that? Because we all have utility bills, and if they ever wanted to do some major event, the first thing that they would do is they would cut the power. We're all dependent. Almost all of us are dependent upon this energy system. Anyone trying to gatekeep anybody from pursuing understanding that is sketchy, bro. It's sus. I don't care what the motivation is. And they're always going to get pushback from me because I know, like, I feel it on a deep level, intellectually, applying pattern recognition, and intuitively as well, that this is like the big truth. There's energy all around you. And they don't want you to know that. And those of us who have woken up to the lies and we're like, oh, I think I'm going to stay organic. Thanks, though. I just won't go to Dollar General, and those of us that have woke up to a bunch of lies are like, I think GMOs may not be very good. Maybe we should get alkalinity alignment in our body instead of acidic. Maybe we should just take our shoes off instead of taking 4,000 pills. And, it doesn't look like, the World Trade Centers fell at free fall speed after fire exploded from jet fuel and 7 terrorists with a box cutter blew it up. And then their passport popped out of fire, floated down to the rubble, and then an FBI agent found the paper passport. And blah, blah, blah. Some of us know that there isn't like the Malaysia airplane. Like, we know that there isn't just an airplane that disappears and just happens to have 4 people that just now filed for a patent that's worth multiple billions of dollars, and they died. So then it went over to the monopolistic company that had like a share in the patents. Or they disappeared, right? And then that the patent was approved like a couple days after this plane disappeared. Those of us that just wake up, we're just waking up to lies, and we're piecing together because we want to kind of understand what's going on. We should come together and like figure stuff out. We should figure out how to utilize magnetism, and you should be able to power your whole entire house. In my assessment, as in what I'm currently learning, you should be able to power your whole house with a magnet. Bro, that's not what they tell you. You can't attain energy without loss, is what they tell you. So anyway, this is a big truth. No one's going to stop me from talking about it. Now, we're going to get into the alleged rebuttal. You can go look at my Ether presentation if you would like. It's been a ether-centric channel for the last few days. And I'm really hoping that you guys don't hear this. But you guys tell me if you can hear. Let me know if you hear anything. Okay, so we're going to check it out. And I started to cover a little bit, and it'll be probably a couple hours. And then we're just going to go from there. It will never be addressed again, at least to the specifics of the people. But I don't want to throw out any crazy allegations, but, you know, you guys have crossed the line. I mean, you can look into Oakley's dad, and it looks like he has connections to the BBC. Austin, how dare you bring that up? Yeah, I'm bringing it up. He admits to being a trained actor. He said his only intention is to be successful on YouTube. I personally sent multiple people to that place, and because it's like convenient as a flat earther to be able to send someone somewhere where it's like, well, they're always talking about the debate. And they literally came back to me and said, I can't listen to that, bro. Or I'd ask them a couple months later, like, where are you at with the earth? You've been looking into it. And they're like, I've learned not to be real pushy, like let people come to me. And they're like, oh yeah, that place you show me is awful, bro. Why would you send me that? I'm like, I can't listen to that. I'm like, so I just stopped looking into it. It's a deterrent. It's a deterrent. So all that being said, you know, and I don't want to get too messy, but I'm saying I got to call out wolves in sheep's clothing, bro. And we're moving on. His dad, now he'll deny it, and I don't have proof it's his dad, but there is strong evidence that there is this guy that worked for the BBC that looks identical to him, is from the same place, and has the same last name. And he claims to be a trained actor. And you can hear it in his voice, he's been trained. And again, I'm not saying that he is or isn't anything. I'm saying he doesn't have pure intention. And just be careful with who you give your time and energy to. You can choose not to come here, and that's okay. But one thing I can assure you is that I have pure intention, bro. Like if I hear something or learn something that would show that what I've said to you guys is wrong, I'm gonna come tell you guys, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because I love you guys. I look at you like my family. And I think you need to always just try to stay with people like that are kind of trying to grow. And that's what it is. This is getting quite nasty now. But and this is another thing. When you have people, now I'm not being nasty. I'm not cussing. I'm not personally berating. I'm not doing anything, right? But these people will come and virtue signal and pretend that I'm being the bad guy or something, while they literally go on a 4-hour tirade, personally attacking me on an egregious level, just insulting me, lying about me, everything, right? And this is what I'm saying. No one even really knows who they are. No one cares. The people that do know, they're starting to unsub. The people think they're super lame. No one cares, right? So, you know, it is what it is. I don't care at all what any of the people that are fanboys of them want to try to twist it as. I'm being honest. I don't have to lie. I'm not a trained actor. I don't have personal motivations to lie or to push a certain narrative. I push back against everyone. I'm on Globebusters. You can ask Bob. No one tells me what to say. It's impossible to tell me what to say. I will burn the house down before someone tells me what to say. You can ask Bob. He knows firsthand. But when Bob asked me to be on his show, he didn't suggest he was going to tell me what to say. He doesn't dictate what I say. That's why Globebusters is so dope, because you can go listen to Jaron, Bob, me, Iru, Zach, Cammy, all have different opinions. All jump in and say, oh, I don't agree with that. Oh, well, what about this? That's why the show is good, because we have intelligent, well-researched people that have differences of opinions, and we're able to come to a formulated opinion, or a well-formulated. And then the audience can hear all the different aspects. That's what growth is. That's how you grow. That's how you learn things. Screaming at people, muting people, not letting people talk, censorship, telling them what they're allowed to say and not to say, that's not how you learn anything. So all that being said, I don't care anymore. let them crash and burn and lay in the bed that you made. If you want to watch them, you can watch them. Now, like, I'm just keeping it real, bro. Like, I'm not perfect. I don't know all things. I dropped out of college. I'm just some dude. I regret ever saying my IQ publicly. I admit that was like a bad thing to do. I should have never done that. I'm just some dude. You know, I have aptitudes and I have things I miss. So I don't want to rant too much about this or be preachy or anything, but, you know, all I'm saying is just everyone needs to just be honest. Okay. And if you can be honest, if I told you something that I found out's wrong, I'm going to tell you. It's not a satisfactory answer to say the only reason that the stars look different is based on which direction you're looking. That doesn't work. We have things look like they're going in a circle around a certain point in the south with star trails, and a flat earther has sent me the star trails from Australia, and that's not explained simply by which direction you're looking. That means we have to explain it. Either the container or your dome of perspective, the containment itself is doing it, magnetic holography. There are plenty of other answers, but I had to update what I used to say because I saw verified evidence that you can get time lapse of the south, and that's just an example. So my point is that none of us know everything. We're all growing. If I misstate something about the ether and I come to a new conclusion about it, I find out I'm wrong about something, I'm going to come tell you guys. All right. And I think that's why that's why there's a decent amount of people that kick it here, because, you know, they can tell that I'm just trying to be real. I'm not. Anyway, you guys get it. Some people aren't. Be careful where you give your energy. Be careful who you promote, because like I said, that show in particular, FED, Flat Earth Debate, has pushed away a lot of people I know personally in real life because of how just vulgar and disgusting. And, you know, we need to kind of think about that. There's an argument to be made about optics, but everyone's got their lane. So anyway, there's my general preface. I want you to know that if that comment hit me, I think he's right. I'm, you know, I made sure to throw it in the title in this one, so you know, like, if you don't want to even hear anything about this interaction, you don't have to come here. I tried to be honest. That's one of the reasons that their names are in the title, is because of that comment. And so I just wanted to kind of address all that. You know, IQ, there's different types. Processing, speed, pattern recognition. I see you guys talking about it, but it's all good. Okay. So, and also the thing with that is, I don't want to go. You know, my number, it doesn't matter. Okay. So it doesn't matter, because you can have a 200 IQ and have no wisdom. Okay. So let's go. And by the way, yeah, thank you guys for supporting us in the chat. We did do a modern day debate last night, Karen B and I, and it was insane, excruciating. I had a literal migraine. Like, I was in literal physical pain. Like, my brain hurt. My mind was like, literally, my head was pulsating. But they did get destroyed, of course, and you may want to go watch it. It's up to you. Okay. Now let's go ahead and kind of start this off here. I covered a lot of it yesterday, but I'm going to just go breeze through it, some of it. Okay, so one of their main arguments is that I said nobody. Now, it's like if I was debating you and I'm like, yeah, so magnetism has an intrinsic relationship with the dielectric. It's a conjugate geometric expression. And then you were like, oh, you think magnetism is magic? I'd be like, no one said that. Do you see what I'm saying? That's me debating. When I'm like, no one said that. Nobody's saying that. That's my response to someone straw manning me, right? Everyone understands it. It's very simple. If I say something and you respond with some made up story, I'm like, no one said that. Nobody is saying that. Okay. Now, what they did in this exchange I had was tried to use the word nobody as if I was claiming to be able to speak for all people. Now, the ironic part is you're going to see this is all self-projection, intellectual insecurity. They think that they can speak for the entire community of people that call themselves flat earthers. So stop attacking flat earthers. Go after globe zombies. I actually don't want to go over after either one of them. So Renee, thank you for the super chat. I was personally attacked. I'm defending myself. I was attacked on an egregious level. It's been going on for a month. I decided to bite my tongue for 2 weeks. I've still tried to keep it cool, not get too ugly. I'm still not going to get nearly as ugly as they are. I'm addressing all of it one final time. I'm not going after anti-flat earthers or globe zombies either. I was talking to Jose about this. Shout out to my boy Jose's in the chat last night on 24/7. I'm not going to be giving anti-flat earthers my energy anymore either. That's kind of the trick. We need to be just talking to open-minded people that are globers, but they're just new. Now, that's what you mean by globe zombies, and I hear you with that. And actually, I just like to talk to you guys. We're going to start ladling lots of gravy about lots of different subjects. Anyway, moving on. This is a blatant lie. That's why it's the name of the stream. It's all lies. And so I wanted to read this quote off, right? It's a famous quote. It's something to the effect of, do not attribute malice to that which can be adequately explained with incompetence. Okay, so do not attribute malice to that which can be adequately explained with incompetence. And so I thought this at first. I thought, well, they're not understanding. So I'm not going to attribute malice. They don't understand what I'm actually saying yet. No, it's a mixed bag probably, but this is dishonest. Everyone knows what I'm saying. I explained it. I was just saying they just are trying to make me look bad desperately, anything that they can come up with. So we're going to move on. Obviously, when I said nobody, I'm not claiming to talk about everyone. They use this to say that I have a huge ego and think that I can speak for all people, all flat earthers, everyone that thinks anything about the ether. I'm telling them to talk for everyone, when clearly that's not what I'm doing. I'm saying no one said that. Why are you strawmanning me? Okay, here we go. This is from the first conversation whenever I was being cut off a ton, and I was talking about electromagnetic waves in a vacuum. I said, and there's many different, we have electromagnetic fluctuations in a vacuum, and so there's no such thing as a perfect vacuum, but we have electromagnetic energy in there, including we can shoot a laser. And this is the thing, when I say shoot a laser and everything, right, it's just me using the terminology we have to understand things. Okay, but it doesn't literally travel. So when I turn on a laser, and it'll appear on the other side of this vacuum chamber, but you can't see it in the vacuum chamber because you need matter to see what we call light. And so you can see on the other side, but it'll pop up on the other side faster than if you turn the laser on outside the vacuum chamber, right? So it's very interesting phenomena. That's like, well, wonder why. Air seems to just be impeding what we call light, the illumination, the perception of illumination, like air impedes it. So I say light is neither a particle nor a wave. He's trying to say that I said electromagnetic waves back in the day, and then 10 days later said that, yeah, I use waves for intents and purposes. Waves are not things in and of themselves. They're just types of movement. I've told every single person on that panel that in private and in public and on my YouTube, which they've admittedly watched all of it. So once again, this is an intentional lie to try to make me look dumb and to make me look like I'm dishonest. So we'll move on. So he's saying I contradict myself. Yeah, but I'm saying the same thing the whole time. Waves aren't things, types of movement. To have a waving movement, a wave-like movement, then you have to have something that's moving. Like if you have someone commented like, oh, what about a tidal wave that hits the city? Well, that's water hitting the city, my man. You didn't know? Yeah, you can't have a wave without the medium, which is our whole point. There has to be some type of thing sustaining it, acting as a medium. Basically what they're trying to say, that was a simple one. That's a lie. That's called lying. It's called a straw man fallacy. And you can attribute malice when you know that he's heard me specifically state what I'm saying, and he tries to find the quote where he can say, oh, he said the word waves. So, and this is the thing, right? If you're going to win an argument, you argue against the person's actual argument. If you have the correct argument, the whole point is like, okay, this is what's also crazy. Like science and philosophy is attached at the hip in all reality. And it's been like, we've been confused. The truth is there used to be a lot smarter people. If you go read like Tesla's letters, by the way, to all the flat earthers saying Tesla doesn't exist, there's a flat earther whose great-grandfather used to literally write letters with Tesla. They have the letters written from Tesla in their house in a safe. So guys, pump the brakes on saying, Tesla didn't exist. It's kind of weird and lame. But anyway, like they used to write these crazy smart letters back and forth. And like, I want to know what's your position. I want to understand it so I can learn if I'm wrong. If like, how can we coincide these? Where do we disagree? It's not like a win or lose, like, can I like run over here in a corner and talk to people where I can misrepresent what he's saying so I can say he's stupid and I win or I'm smarter or whatever. That's a very dishonest tactic. Lying is very bad for your soul, by the way, for all of those that don't know. Lying is not good for you, bro. It's very bad for your spirit. Very, very bad. Like it's going to hurt you, bro. Like I encourage you guys to stop lying. Do everything you can to stop lying, man. Like lying is bad, like so bad. I think it's maybe one of the worst things ever. Okay, so now he's trying to say that I'm really arrogant because I did say at one point I'm smarter than you, Oakley. It's a bad look, and it goes into this guy's comment. It's like when you engage with this toxic stuff, you're going to become toxic. And he was calling me stupid so many times. I'm like, and then I explained something, and he was just now catching up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're right." I'm like, "I know, I'm smarter than you, Oakley. I shouldn't have said that." So they're trying to make me look really bad, but they want to leave out the context where he personally berated me and blah blah blah. Again, I don't want to get too much. It's hard to address it without even getting too petty. That's what's so crazy about it. So here he says the actual argument seems to be avoided, which is atomism as a model. So you got photons and electrons. This is a philosophical model that's not actually scientifically proven. The main critique of ether is that it's not science. And yep, of course, what we're saying, and he knows what I'm saying, is that atomism is a philosophy. Applying this philosophical framework, they've come up with the atomic model and with the subatomic scale and all these different things. And that's a philosophy. That's not science or anything. It's just a preferred convention to try to quantify things. And it really stems from materialism. I cover all this in my presentation, but he can't rebut my presentation. So he has to just take out of context quotes. So he says it's a non sequitur fallacy, juxtaposition, philosophical model. No such phrase exists. He's saying it's sophistry. Photons and electrons are not atoms. Of course, I never said that they were atoms. They're subatomic scales. Of course, you need the atom to have something that you call subatomic, and then to denote characteristics within the atom, which has never been proven. This is another lie. So 1 lie, 2 lie, 3 lie, 4 lie, 5 lie. Well, I think we're like 6 lies or something so far. Discovering atoms, the atomic structure is inherently not science because natural science only adjudicates how and why, not what is. Well, I'm questioning your claim of what is, and that comes to a philosophy. It's a philosophical model. It's a philosophical framework of interpretation called atomism, where they claim everything must be made of little particles. So all these different phenomena that we see, like charges and discharges and different types of movement and pressure being mediated on this really small scale, well, we can't see, like, physically verify that it's a ball or a physical particle or anything like that. But we need to for our model so we can quantify it. So it's a philosophy that everything must be matter, and that's where atomism comes from. So this is another intentional straw man. So that's also known as a lie. Now, I'm obviously going to skip over all the insults. It's just all kinds of insults. My cat's litter box is smarter than you, and blah blah blah. Okay. Apparently, the Mr. Magoo tactic is a rapid fire fallacious juxtaposition. So belly laughter, category error. And say, and I think this is textbook sophistry where you have to like use all kinds of like boomer references with adjectives as if somehow you're funny and that makes your point right or something. I mean, I don't know if they know, but no one like under the age of 30 knows anything to do with 90% of what you're saying when you make these boomer references, but it's all good. So the main critique of ether is that it can't be shown or demonstrated to exist. Duh. And yeah, like some things are immaterial and you can't physically, tangibly prove them. That's what I'm actually saying. So basically what he's trying to say is that I'm saying everything is either, this is a thing about how dishonest all of it is. That's why this thumbnail is what it is. It's blatant lies. You should wonder why. It's like how a Glober, go watch that debate last night. And you know how they had to constantly lie about what we were saying? When you have to lie, it's because you can't address the actual argument. That's why you have to lie. Just really sucked at it. So anyway, he's saying that what I'm saying is if something isn't science, it's philosophy. That's the only two things, science and philosophy. No, just like he said, if you can, like, if you just see something and you know it to be true, you don't, that's not science. It's just an observation. You have to like take that naturally occurring observation and then manipulate what you think the cause of it is for it to be science. And it doesn't mean it's automatically philosophy. So we'll move on. Like I said, I am just going to address this presentation just so we never talk about it again. They said this is their home run. This is also the people that are being, look, I want to explain why I'm doing this. Some of you guys are falling for it. You're falling for the gatekeeping. I'm not going to say they're J-trig, but they might as well be. You're falling for the gatekeeping, which comes from pride and ego, or maybe even other alternative motives. I don't know, and it doesn't matter. I'm not making allegations. And you're falling for it. You're falling for it, and they're confining your mind where we need to come together in this instant so we can figure out what's going on with this energy, exactly what is electricity, magnetism, what is this earth, like what is it encompassed in, how does everything work? We need to get our power back, like quite literally. So that's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to help you guys out, but I'm not going to keep doing it. If you want to go over there and you want to stay stagnant and just lie and stay in this low vibration where people hurl insults and everything's super toxic, and all you do is cuss at the top of your lungs and spit's coming out of your mouth because you're so infuriated and you're just screaming, berating everywhere. That's your own prerogative. I encourage you guys as flat earthers not to do that, bro. Rise above that. Rise above that toxic stuff. I know some people like to hear the globe earthers like get berated because they're so tired of being attacked themselves as flat earthers. We're better than that, bro. We're better than that. Don't sink to that toxic level, bro. You don't need to. But that's just my opinion. So, all right, so we'll move on. He's basically saying I'm claiming that trees and leaves and waters and rocks and flamingos consciousness aren't science either, but they can be shown demonstrated to be directly true by an incoherent second grader. And that's kind of my point, which is that like he mentioned consciousness. I'm like, some things you can know to be true without scientifically proving it. I'm making that point. He's presenting it as if I'm denying that, when that's the crux of my whole argument, is that some things that can't be scientifically proven with scientific manipulation within the natural science, scientific method and experiments, you can still prove them, like with logic or just acknowledgement. You can observe things, know that they're there. Now, interpreting what it is that you're observing is a different question, but we can know that the phenomenon exists, and we can know things by logical axiom like consciousness exists. That's my argument. He's presenting it as if I'm claiming the opposite of that, and he has to correct me to teach me about it. That's blatantly lying. It's just blatant dishonest. This is why I almost didn't do this, because it's like, it's so dishonest. It's like, I don't respond to globe trolls, I don't respond to anti-flat earther hit pieces. So I'm doing this because I love my fellow flat earthers, and I think they're being misguided, misled, and led into like this constant perpetual cycle of toxicity and low vibration and mental confinement. And I'm just trying to wake some of them up. And if you don't want to wake up after this, we're just going to keep elevating. So we're going to move on. Just another insult, of course. Okay. Nitwit idiot. All right, maybe you guys can see a little better like this. It's intentional. Yeah, I know. That's my point. That's why it's called lying. It really is toxic. I don't know how screaming like that's effective for anything. It's literally not. Actually, no, he's saying that just because immaterial things exist does not mean ether exists. Like you're saying immaterial things exist, thus ether exists. That's his point. Look, there you go. That's a straw man. Raichi, is that how you say your name? That's a straw man. I never claimed that since other immaterial things exist, that proves that ether exists. So since that's my point. You just now laid it out. A blatant lie. He's blatantly lying. I never said that. I didn't say since consciousness exists, that means ether exists. What I said was, we know that there's a metaphysical realm. Something exists outside the material world. For example, we have consciousness, dreams, intuition, memories. We have a creator. So we know there's something outside the material world, and it interacts with the material world. Like we experience consciousness in the material world. We know that the creator had to interact with the material world to make this place. So there's an interaction. And that's all I was saying was, we know there's something outside of here. I didn't say, therefore, what I say about ether is true. That's a blatant lie. And you made my point by trying to correct me, which is all they can do to debate me is to lie. And you can rise above it or you can go with it. Like, it's not really honestly, anyone that hears, like, you're becoming desensitized to toxicity if you listen to people like Oakley and QE, where they just, and I feel bad for you guys. You guys are they scream cuss words and insults, and they're just so toxic. And it's like, I can tell the flat earthers that watch them have become desensitized to it. But I don't do that. So they come over here and they hear me kind of rebut against them or say like, I think they're being kind of lame. They're like, Austin, you're being so toxic. But they're so desensitized to what they do that they don't think about it. But when they see me, because I don't do that, they're like, whoa, Austin, why are you playing ball with them like that? And that's called hypocrisy, also called lying. I think the overarching part, which is why this is called lies, dude, lying is really bad for your soul. Intentionally being dishonest and lying, manipulating, subverting truth, because truth has the hierarchy. That is what matters. That is, truth will always prevail. Truth doesn't fear investigation. There's nothing you can do to it. Subverting it, being deceptive, is really bad for your spirit. It's really bad. Like, I think that you'll actually get sick if you don't stop. So I would encourage you guys to stop lying, but Anyway. I don't agree with people making claims about ether, exactly what it is, and even the name, which I addressed this yesterday. What I'm actually explaining is I was trying to bridge the gap because I'm trying to be honest and be fair. I'm like, I can understand the critique that some flat earthers, they make too definitive of claims with the ether. They come in and they just start stating the claims as if matter of fact. They don't preface it like, well, this is kind of what we're trying to figure out. It looks like it might be like this. Well, Tesla speculated it was like this. They act like they know exactly what it is. And I said, I agree. I disagree with people doing that. I don't agree with people doing that. And I said, not even necessarily the name either. This is me. See, this is what happens when you try to be honest and you have good faith. This is called bad faith. By definition, this is bad faith. When you have good faith and you come into a conversation, you expect the other person to like actually try to hear you out, understand you. And that's what I'm doing here. So the reason I said that even the name, I used the word ether because it has a historical importance. It's a beginning stage for everyone to start understanding what we're talking about. But I think that it goes back to the designing creative force of this place, right? Because like, what is it that's the source of the energy? Like, yeah, it's pure potential state, but what's making it manifest and all this stuff? And so I think ether, it in and of itself isn't the entirety of it. I think it leads to a much deeper philosophical discussion that's very speculative or subjective. And I said, I don't necessarily like the word because it's so stigmatized, right? Kind of like the word flat earth is. I found out you don't just walk up to someone and say, hey, I'm a flat earther, even though I did that on my tour. I found out really, if you just talk to them about, hey, have you ever heard that a lot of physicists think that maybe the earth is actually not moving after all and that we may be stationary, and then they'll bring up flat earth or like bring up plane earth or level earth or whatever. Like flat earth is so stigmatized that it's bad. It's kind of like the word Christian. I'll never turn away from flat earth. When someone says, are you a flat earther? I'm not going to deny it. When someone says, are you a Christian? I'm not going to deny it. But like modern Christianity has been drastically manipulated and messed with, right? So that's kind of the point, is like the same with ether. Like if someone asks, do you think there's an ether? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to immediately start to explain myself. Same with Christianity, same with flat earth. So I was explaining that out of an attempt to have a good faith conversation. And I didn't watch him enough to know, but I should have known. But you can't have good faith conversation or exchange with someone who has no intention of doing so because they're only acting out of pride or ego, whatever they've stated as their stance. It's fragility of ego. So anyway, so that's what I was saying. Then he said, if you can't define what something actually is, even the name, for goodness sakes. And I explained it, right? It's just like we say flat earth. The earth isn't technically flat. It's a topographical plane. We say flat earth, though. We can't define the earth as if it's an entire object. I call it objectism. Like we're suffering from the plague of everything's an object, right? And we know the earth's like this object that is this, and we call it the earth, and we call it flat earth. The earth's not flat, right? So his argument's just stupid. Well, yeah, I absorbed the word ether in the sense that it gives us, when you know what we're talking about, I said it's very stigmatized. So I think there's an interesting conversation to move past using the word. That's why I call it background medium, or I start with the philosophical premise. Well, we know something exists outside the physical world. So what exists outside the material world? Something or nothing? Well, we know nothing cannot exist. So that means it's something. Because I thought that would be a middle ground where anyone that has two brain cells to rub together would be like, okay, well, yeah, there is something. And I'm like, okay, if you don't want to make any more claims outside of that, that's cool. But some of us wanted to speculate. It still didn't work. See, I was just having good faith. And this is it's being used against me. Anyone that supports it, everyone now can see your true colors. So it's a blessing in disguise. So you don't agree with people making claims about ether, but that's exactly what you've been doing for the past month. So, I mean, you see the problem, right? I'm making definitive claims of exactly what it is and claiming they know definitively exactly what ether is and exactly all the characteristics of it. I don't agree with that. And now I'm saying anyone talking about the ether at all, and then as I talk about it, I'm being a hypocrite. So this is another lie. It's intentional lie, though, right? So like I said, do not attribute malice to that which can be adequately explained with incompetence. This is not that. This is intentionally lying. If you have a vacuum chamber and have all kinds of electromagnetic fluctuations that you can measure and detect within that, then what's the energy traveling through? Now, I'll have to watch it. I don't know. I may have used the word travel. It was a very hectic thing. Like I said, I was trying to have a good faith conversation because I thought flat earthers respected one another enough to have good conversations, like with good faith. Certainly when someone like, I'm not trying to be arrogant or like toot my own horn or anything like that, but I have clearly tried to do a lot for the movement, right? Like I went in debt. I'm still in debt. dude. I like all my savings just so I could travel the United States and try to speak the truth about the earth to people with a microphone. I got arrested. It cost me thousands of dollars. It consumed my life trying to fight those cases. Like I did a lot. Like it speaks for itself. So I thought, well, I've earned at least the respect to where I can come in, and even if we have a differing opinion, like I can have a respectful conversation when we both talk. We stay calm and respectful, and we can have good faith. I never had to think that it's like when I did the debate on modern day debate last night with Karen B, which go check that out. We obviously crushed them, where they have bad faith. They're intentionally lying and twisting stuff, right? I didn't bash you, Austin. I showed your contradictions. Trying to teach people with contradictions isn't good. Fix it was my point, not my fault. You were contradicting him. Oh, you're talking about your video. Well, you understand, though, well, we actually explained that you were wrong, right? Because if he's saying there's science that can be validated that supports the idea of an ether, then you're wrong. So, sucks to suck, man. Anyway. And no blocking people, please. We don't have to block people unless they're just in here spamming insults. Like Rachel's 100% fine. She's fully protected here. There's no reason to ever block her or anything like that. I think she's a decently genuine person. There's only so much F.E. Bucks out there. He's not interested in holding hands. That's pretty funny, Twit. That may be true. I don't know. Sucks to suck. Am I blocked? No, Twit. I just read your thing. Like I don't like. I just looked at it. I have a lot of people blocked on here. I don't think I've ever actually blocked anyone myself. Maybe a couple people that were like talking about my wife or something. Okay, so anyway, so he's trying to say here that I claim that light travels, and then I bring up ᴄᴏᴛᴇ for example, and we had lights go in different directions. And so he's saying, you guys tell me when I'm reading it, should I do this where you can see the whole thing, or should I do? All right, how about this? This is one. Okay, when I'm reading the thing, I'll go back and forth to full screen, obviously, but it's up to you guys. Do you want 1, which is the full screen of the presentation? You got 2 with me down in the bottom left, or you got 3 like this. So do you want 1, 2, or 3? Throw it in the chat. I'm a man of the people. What can I say? See, I went early, so we have time. I have a debate tonight at 9. 2, okay. Your wife is really sweet, Austin, in my subjective opinion. She is very sweet. She's the best. I'm keeping up with it. We got a few 3s, we got a few 2s. All right, we'll do 2. A lot of people are saying 3 too. So how about we just swap back and forth? A lot of people are saying 2. I understand. Okay, you guys are good. We're gonna do this. All right, so makes more sense. I think it's bigger, but I'm still on the screen. I don't know what's the benefit of this really. There's not much benefit of that compared to 2, right? You can except at the bottom, which I mean we'll be scrolling down anyway. In a world where no one knows where the world is, they get lost in space and we're trolling. All right, so we're gonna get back on the point. So he's trying to say that since I bring up ᴄᴏᴛᴇ, just a sec. That since I bring up ᴄᴏᴛᴇ, I'm contradicting myself because by QE you mean QNFEE? If not, are you familiar with QNFEE's work? In yesterday's debate, I asked about Fight the Tight Shirt, and James said, you've debated him many times. I can't find any of it. Is this true? You mentioned you wouldn't talk to FTFE out of principle. Thank you for the $50 super chat, Javid. I'm sorry. If you could type how you pronounce it, I would love to be able to say your name correctly, but thank you for the generous super chat. I have had a couple conversations with him. I've never been on his show or anything. But yeah, I told James that like I've had conversations with him. They did the same thing Oakley does, where you don't let me talk and you scream over me and you tag team me like 4-5v1. You scream over me, mute me, chant, insult me, make personal digs, and straw man me. And so it can't be fruitful. It's fruitless, right? So I said, yeah, I won't debate him out of principle, and I will not, no matter what, never. ever because he needs me. He needs us. He's been begging me to debate him because he needs me to get views and super chats, and then all the really, really toxic people. It's like all the toxic people that are flat earthers, they can go hang out at Oakley's. That way we know where they're at. And all the toxic people that are anti-flat earthers, they can go hang out at Fight the Flat Earth. We know where they're at. And we can stay away from them. That's honestly how I look at it. So I won't be debating him. I've never heard of the other guy that you said. But thank you for the super chat. Austin, you did amazing in the debate. Thank you. Something else I will say is, like, I see where they said Oakley and QE will never go on modern day debate. Of course not. But what's funny is, so I was like, you know what? I know what'll solve this. We'll just have a fair debate. So I'm like, Oakley, I jumped in the chat, one of his videos, he was in the chat. And I was like, why don't you just debate me on a fair platform? Because he was like rerunning like that show where he just literally was so ridiculous. He wouldn't let me talk at all. And I'm like, why don't you just debate me on a fair, neutral platform, and then we can just kind of settle that way. He's like, oh, he's scared. He has to go to a different platform, which is self-projection because he's scared to go to a fair, neutral platform where both people get to talk and there's a moderator. He can only do it there where he can scream over me and mute me for the YouTube and tactically unmute me to misrepresent what I'm saying to try to make me look stupid. He said, oh, he's scared. He's got to go to a different platform. I'm like, nah, it would just be fair. We could just have a fair, neutral exchange. He's like, how much does it pay? QE's not deserving of your time, neither is Nathan. I agree. This is why the last time I will ever even be addressing them as if they exist. Literally. The only reason I'm doing this right here is because QE and I like had a relationship at one point, and I always thought he was super toxic and lame in lots of ways, but like, and when he's chill, he's not bad, is how I looked at it. But anyway, so Oakley was like, how much does it pay? And so I knew he was just like coming up with some excuse. So I said, okay, name your price, to call his bluff. And then he just didn't answer because they're literally scared to debate me. And so when you think that they're winning, well, okay, this is their home run. We're looking at their home run. What's going on? Interesting. And this is the last time I'll be talking about him, bro. It's all about the money. Yeah, but he wouldn't even do it for money, because even if it was like $1,000, Twit, it would end his channel. He would get so intellectually eviscerated that, like, dude, he would never recover. He knows that. He knows it. That's why it isn't, the quote isn't applicable. The quote about do not attribute malice to that which can be adequately explained with incompetence. So if someone doesn't know or understand, right, you can't assume that they're being mean. Haha, my name is like David with a J. Oh, Javid. Okay. I said Javid or something. Javid. Cool, bro. Thank you for the super chat. Sorry you had to do that so I could see it. Anyway, so we're going to move on. So he's saying that, okay, yeah, here, I want to explain this. So like with the Michelson-Morley thing you see right here, he's saying electromagnetic waves, what does it propagate through? And I explained yesterday that like propagate, we're using that, but I always preface when I say propagate, I'm like, not in the literal application where people interpret it to mean going from point A to point B. Propagation, frequency, oscillation, wave, patterns, these are all just mathematical descriptions we use. They're just concepts, they're conventions that we use to try to describe motion. We just describe the motion. That's all we're doing. So they're all mathematical concepts. They're not actually what something is or anything. So when I say propagate, yeah, I'm using the convention, right? But I'm not saying it's travel. And I always preface, like, it will not propagate as in it goes from point A to point B. It's already there. So I'm asking, like, well, what is sustaining it? And in the conversation with Oakley that he's taking these quotes from, I said 5 or 6 times, what sustains it? Like, I'm asking, well, what sustains the energy? What sustains it? He left all that out and then took the quote where he can try to make it look like I'm saying travel when my whole argument is that it doesn't travel. This is another blatant lie, an intentional lie. And we're like, what, 3 slides in and it's just full of lies. If you defend this after watching this video, you're lying. You're promoting someone lying. You would destroy Oakley. He's the poster boy for Dunning-Kruger. Yeah, of course. Okay, thumbs up for our guy Austin. He represents the best of what FES offer. Thank you for the kind words, brother. Okay, so again, this is another lie. That's called a straw man fallacy, and it's an intentional one, meaning it's a lie. Okay, so in _Μōsᴜ, I explained like, oh, well, the light gets there at different times. So he's in like the difference in the travel of light. I don't even think I said that exact quote, but if I did, I'm explaining it. See, like this is the thing. This is a higher level conversation. So you have to really be honest and try to understand it, right? So when we're having the conversation, we're using the convention we use to quantify what we call light or illumination. I explained now the quote unquote speed of light is actually a rate of induction, but there isn't a speed as in travel from point A to point B. They're like, oh, well, rate to speed. I'm like, no. I'm saying that the light's already there. You're conflating what light itself is with how quickly we perceive it. We quantify a rate of perception. We quantify a rate of illumination. We quantify how quickly the illumination is seen. That doesn't mean it's physically traveling. This is my actual position. It can't be rebutted, though. It can't be rebutted. So for a month, they've run around making stuff up. He's worked on this rebuttal for a month, and he still has to lie about the actual position. If anything, that adds validity to my position. The despair in this freaking thing is, oh, what happened? Oh, my thing freaking glitched out. All right, don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I think I pressed a button that made everything like close. That was crazy. Okay, so we'll move on. I can shoot a laser through a vacuum chamber and it gets to the other side. And yeah, I say these things, but again, you have to, that's where an honest person will be like, well, wait, what do you mean? I thought you said it didn't travel. And I'm like, well, I'm explaining, yeah, well, like I explained earlier in the show, you turn the laser on, it appears on the other side as well. And so, you know, it's illogical to think that there's no quote unquote light in the center in the vacuum chamber itself, even if we don't see it or can barely see it at times or can't see it at all, because it's on the other side as well, right? And so I'm just saying that, well, the illumination is faster. It's faster when there's a vacuum chamber involved than like normal air, which goes to show that the air is just, it was uninterrupted out here. Okay, perfect. The air just kind of impedes it. And air acts as impedance of how quickly we see it. And when I say it, that's the whole question. What is it, right? I don't want to, I'm not trying to treat it as a physical soul entity. It's the background medium. So anyway, we'll move on. So he's trying to show here that I'm contradicting myself. According to you, electromagnetic waves, and he's trying to say, even though I say waves aren't things, right? So he's trying to say I'm contradicting myself because I say light travels. In _Μōsᴜ, we see a difference in the illumination. So interferometry uses the convention of speed of light, which is actually rate of induction, which is actually the rate in which we perceive or illuminate it. We call it speed of light, and we have a certain like a value that's pretty consistent that we can use for stuff like interferometry. So then we use this to measure things precisely. It's like a distance finder, right? A laser distance finder. But the light's not physically traveling, shooting out BBs and coming back or something like that. It's just a convention we use to calibrate the technology. That's what interferometry is. And so it shows that, and I guess you could say like the naturally occurring observable phenomena is light. It's just like light in how we perceive it, the illumination of light. That's the naturally occurring observable phenomena. And how quickly we perceive the illumination is altered based on which direction the light's facing. And that's very interesting, right? So that's what it actually is. So would you say the illumination has a speed? If illumination has a rate, then there's a speed of visible light. Am I not being understood again? This is wild to me. Okay. There's a speed or rate of illumination, how quickly we see it illuminate, but not in the word of speed as in distance over time, okay? Because there is no distance being traveled, so it's already there. If I have a lake that's already there and it begins to shake, if I quantify how quickly it shakes, what size the waving of the water is, the water did not travel from one side of the lake to the other. So there is no speed in the sense of distance or travel from point to point. We're quantifying perception of illumination of what's already there. I don't know. I guess obviously I'm not phrasing that good enough. Obviously, I'm trying to explain it the best I can. I don't know how much simpler I can make it. Okay, so we're going to move on here. This is another lie. This whole page is implicitly lying when he knows my actual position. I can understand that you may not, it may be complex to someone when they have this whole like paradigm of assumption that it travels. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I think they're trying to fight me, bro. Why is it doing this? I might close the window and do it again. I hope I'm being understood here, but let's see. Internet speed. I'm pretty sure that my speed is off the charts here. So I don't know. Perfect sense. Like some people are understanding it and some people aren't even getting close, which means you guys aren't trying to understand it because you have a bias. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that 600 download and 39 upload is probably going to be pretty sufficient, don't you guys think? 600 download speed and 40 upload. I think that's decent. Need to upgrade your protons. Yeah, and my photons aren't working well enough. I understand the light's already there, but I mean the illumination. Speed of illumination could be classed as speed of visible light. Sorry if I'm not understanding. I'm trying to. No, that's why I don't dislike you or anything. I think you are genuinely trying to understand. And we had a decent exchange in the comments. I think you're trying to be honest because you quoted a bunch of Tesla, which means you're at least looking into it, and I admire that. Experiencing interruptions, find out why. So, yeah, you could say that illumination has a speed, or technically speaking, it would be a rate of induction. Well, rate is a speed, right? It's how quick something happens. So there's a rate of induction. Is that all? We are getting 1 gigabyte fiber soon. That's cool. This is supposed to be that. This is supposed to be like the 1 gigabyte package for the fiber optic. And like, this is the 1 gig, but it's not actually, it doesn't actually go up to 1 gig. Like I'll get 750 or 800 sometimes. It's exhausting. I'm telling you, that's why I'm about to like, yo, this may just be one of those, like not everyone can watch Ken Willer, right? And I think Ken Willer's wrong about a lot of stuff, by the way. And he needs to chill because Ken, if you happen to watch my channel, you need to chill, bro. Oh, Kai's calling me. I gotta tell her. She went and visited her mom. So I don't think she even knew that I was going live. So let's go back to just checking it out. Ken is definitely wrong about a lot of stuff. Yeah, no, I'm saying, hey, Ken, just because it seems like you know who I am whenever you read my name. I need you to chill, man. You know, I need you to chill on some of the stuff. Like when I asked you, I said, you know, how could a magma core couldn't, he's right about a ton of stuff. But I'm saying, you know, I asked about the magnetic core. And he's like, I never said that. Solar induction. What's sustaining the magnetic field, Ken? What's sustaining it? What's the source of it? Where's it at? What's sustaining the actual central source of it? Solar induction doesn't answer that in entirety. I asked, where's the inertial plane on the globe? And he didn't answer it. And this is super chats. So all I'm saying, and he kind of like, I said, doesn't Michelson-Morley show that the earth isn't moving? And he said, that's a religion. He said that I had a religion because I thought the earth wasn't spinning. So what is Ken wrong about? Quite a bit of stuff. You know, I'm also looking into this claim that the stronger the magnet, the wider the magnetic field or spatial extension, or the smaller the spatial extension, because it doesn't look like that's necessarily the case. Now, the bigger the dielectric portion or the black void, but is the spatial extension of the magnetic field actually smaller? I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I saw some evidence that it's not. I ask him that all the time now, and he'll never answer. All right, but anyway, it's all good. Like, I'm not bashing Ken Willer. Like I said, I think that he's good for lots of things, man. You know, lots of things. I find that disheartening, but I can understand it. I'm not his dad, so. Anyway, take the good with the bad, right? Discovering atoms, atomic structure is inherently not science. Like he's reifying this, right? You didn't discover atoms and atomic structure, dude. Dude, the phenomena is real, okay? Like the area that we isolate called an atom, we can isolate it. It's pressure mediation. It's not a physical bubble, physical ball. None of that's real. That's called pseudoscience. If you claim that you scientifically proved it, and you're trying to say it's not science, because his argument again is that you can just observe something and know it exists, and that's not science. Well, yeah, that's cool. I never said it wasn't. That's just another lie to try to make me look stupid, because you have to lie. Come on, man. Don't be doing this to me. We'll reload it. How double dog dare you? Be patient with the brother. Share screen. Okay. So, yeah, here he's showing us again. I don't agree with making claims specifically about what it is, like as if you know for a fact, because you don't. I said if you have something propagating, he wants to make me sound stupid with the ums. Dude, let's transcript this goofy goober. My goodness, but anyway. Something has to sustain the propagation. In physics, wave propagation is a term to describe the way waves travel or move without wave propagation. Phenomenon involving waving, I don't know, it's cut off. Sound and light will not be possible. Look at what he's doing, dude. Look what he's doing. So first he says that wave is just a mathematical construct. It's not real. Then he quotes it from not even an educational source or anything, right? So study.com. It says, in physics, wave propagation is a term used to describe the way waves travel. Waves aren't things, they're types of movement. Now, I also have very clearly stated when I say propagate, I don't mean in the sense that it's traveling from point A to point B. That's the convention that we use. But it's just like energy disturbing the medium. So something has to sustain that energy. There has to be something that's disturbed. Something's oscillating, vibrating, being disturbed. There is a perturbation of something. And it's not physically traveling because what it is that we're seeing move is already there. It's not traveling. Okay, so this is another lie. It's another straw man and lie of the actual position. And so he's saying, oh, look, I can define propagation. I used the word and explained the nuance. So you're not having good faith interaction. Flat earthers are so much better than this. Like intentionally bad faith interaction. This dude's channel should crash and burn. That's my honest opinion. You guys should show that you're not going to support something like this. Ken will lose donation money if he comes out as a flat earther. Yeah, for sure, but whatever. Like I said, I'm not his dad, right? So, okay, so, and I guess you guys might be thinking I'm lying about what he's saying or something. Like I'm not. I can't listen to it. It's going to be a lot of cussing and stuff here. You guys tell me if you hear it. We covered this part already.
Let's
go to the next place. I think you guys should hear it. This is really frustrating me.
Retort response from Czott. The difference in the travel of light. So he come on, say it. That's the issue. The difference in the travel of light. He's got a problem with it, right? He said it a number of times. This is just the amount of times that I caught, right? It was probably much more than this.
No, it wasn't. If I actually said it this many times, which he needs a timestamp on because we now know that he blatantly lies. Like if I said it this many times, then that's all the times I ever said it. This dude watched every single thing I did because I know how he is. That's why it took him a month. He used to go listen to my debates that I'd have with anti-flat earthers for hours and hours and hours and comb through all of them. And then that's what he made his numpty clips off of. Every one of his numpty clips are debates where I was just destroying rooms full of globers. And then he was taking their stupid responses. It was almost always me debating them, setting them up, making them say dumb things. So all that to say, he looked for everything he could because everyone's looking to him to come save them and come show why I'm wrong about the ether, including Nil or Arwen or Oakley himself. Who, by the way, QE has literally said that he loved Oakley because he was able to he was malleable and he could take him in and tell him what to think. Basically, he could teach him what to say and what to think. That's why he liked him so much. So, yeah, like when he said that wasn't true, but that's why, like, when I listen to it, there's so many lies in what they say about me that, like, we would be here for so long because I'd have to address all the lies. And that's why I'm like, yo, dude, choose to lie and go believe lies or don't. I don't care. So let's just hear what we say. So this is again with Michelson-Morley. Actually, all you're doing is seeing a difference in the illumination rate, the rate of induction, which is the, we're quantifying the perception of illumination. And it's different in different directions whenever you have very precise interferometry, which is interesting because the question is, why does that happen? Right? Because if there's some type of movement, it would affect that disturbance. It would affect the illumination. If there's some type of movement in a field, right? There's some type of movement. Right. And you can literally use things that are moving to show that the interferometry will show you when something's moving. And it's interesting. We have something moving on the earth, but it's not the earth. So then what is it? Well, we do see the sky move, and we can use this interferometry and we can make a prediction on the sky moving. We can look at the interferometry and it matches the prediction. It shows the phase shift matching the prediction of how fast the stars move within 98% accuracy. That shows us that us humans have come up with a way to use light in a very precise way, an accurate way to show us movement, because it's literally exactly the rate in which we see the sky move. The interferometry shows a phase shift based on that. That's important. So what's going on? And Michelson-Morley so Michelson-Gale shows the sidereal rotation within 98% accuracy every time. And the Michelson-Morley did not show the Earth orbiting around the sun. It didn't show anything. And it should be 30 kilometers a second. It was sensitive enough to detect something 2 miles a second. So it didn't work. Okay, this is why interferometry, this is why Michelson-Morley is important. So when I say the difference in the light, yeah, you're just being semantic, because I'm talking about it's the perception of illumination, right? It's a rate of induction, but it's not physically traveling from point A to point B. So anyway.
So according to Whitsitt, we have electromagnetic waves, that's light, traveling. Then he confirms, I can shoot a laser through a vacuum and it gets to the other side. Well, there you go. I mean, there's not too much confusion here, is there?
Yeah, obviously you're confused, Oakley. I mean, QE. Sorry, I get you guys confused. Because I just explained that to the entire audience. It doesn't literally travel. It's just that when there's a vacuum chamber, the light still shows up on the other side. So within your paradigm, it doesn't work. So I'm like critiquing your paradigm while simultaneously explaining a more viable option, which is that the light's already there and something else is there except for air that sustains the light, sustains the energy, sustains the electromagnetic energy. Very simple stuff. So this is another lie. This is another lie. I'm guessing he played a clip of me saying this, which is funny because, again, if you have to argue against an argument that's not being made, it's probably because you can't actually argue the real argument. Just a guess, though. This is frustrating me. It's almost as if the government doesn't want me to check this video or something. What's going on? Then right when I said that, it went black. Wow. I'm not gonna lie. I think this is sketchy, bro. I just checked my internet. Why is it doing this? You guys might have got. Yeah, I got too because he was a real person. I'm not trying to actually say accusations like that, but it's just pretty weird. Okay, let's try it again. Magnetic fluctuations that you can measure and detect within that. And so it's like, what's the energy traveling through? Okay, so in the etheric framework, the light is,
Can I say something?
it's already there. So it's a physical interaction of a disturbance in the medium, and you're perceiving the illumination. Now, in the atomistic interpretation, it's physically traveling from point A to point B. And so it's like, what's the energy traveling through? Okay, you see, this is their argument. It's like whenever I say it and then I explain right afterwards, but like I don't think it's traveling. Within your own paradigm, you think it's traveling. So what's it traveling through? There has to be something there within your own paradigm. And I'm saying that it's just already there and something sustaining it. So when I'm just trying to colloquially explain that we shoot a laser through a vacuum to explain the phenomena so we can get down to the actual conversation, he takes that section out where I use the word travel so that he can then say that I'm contradicting myself when I've made it abundantly clear what my actual position is a million times, and I'm critiquing their position, right? Because Oakley's talking about how he knows all this stuff. I'm critiquing their position of atomism, and I'm simultaneously trying to explain that something has to sustain it in the vacuum chamber. This is lying. This is lying. Like, it's intentionally lying. And he's watched all my videos since where I explain it. You got to admit, this is sad, bro. It's pretty sad.
Purpose is horseshit, contradicting himself and then telling Nathan that it was Nathan's claim. Well, what on earth?
See what I'm saying? It is their claim. It's your claim that light's a physical particle, which means it has to travel. If you say that there's a physical particle and a speed of light, you're claiming that it travels from point A to point B. I'm critiquing that claim. So you don't understand it. It may be a combination of like dishonesty and malice and incompetence, right? It's like that quotes can be nuanced, but anyway.
So the main of your fairy tale ether argument, what is the electromagnetic wave propagating that's light traveling through?
Now, see, again, like, this is why it's hard to listen to him. I just explained all that, right? Like, it's not actually propagating through. So it's crazy, man. And like, we can listen to it. He'll just start screaming and like, it's crazy, bro. So I say here, he quotes it, waves aren't things. They're just types of movement. Does movement involve traveling, you double-speaking clown? Again, like I showed it yesterday, right? It's like, okay. It's like, here we go. AirPod, okay? Now this AirPod's right here, right? Now it's like, did the AirPod travel from here to here? Or did it just move? It's not traveling from point to point. It's already there. There's a movement within it, just like a lake. Doesn't travel from one side to the other. So if you say the word move, he's going to straw man me and say that move has to mean traveling from point to point. That's another lie. These are all lies. I wonder why he has to lie so much. If my position is so stupid and easily refuted, then you wouldn't have to constantly lie and straw man what it actually is. So he is where he says it means travel or move. And literally it's so sad, bro. Okay. Ether doesn't claim that light has a speed. Now think about what he does here. This goes to show how incredibly desperate and dishonest he is. He says reification, pathetic fallacy, right? Where he says, I suppose ether has vocal cords, aerobic respiration, lips, a tongue, and the sentience and intelligence to repeat. I don't know what that word would be. To something and make claims. Does everyone see what he's saying here? Since he got a quote of me saying ether doesn't claim that light has a speed, meaning the framework of ether, right? In the framework of ether, it is not claimed that light has a speed. He's trying to say that I said ether itself is sentient and is making a claim. Bro, how dishonest is that, bro? It's like laughably bad. Ether. So he's saying, ether can't make claims. It's not sentient. It's a reification fallacy where I said that the ether can talk. Bro, when I'm actually clearly saying that within the framework of ether, it is not claimed that light has a speed. This is how you know they can't debate me, because if you have to do something this desperate and dishonest, I mean, come on, bro. So that's his first critique. Then he says, you unwittingly must claim that light has a speed because it has a frequency and is traveling or moving. And again, no. See, frequency, oscillation, reverberation, propagation, perturbation, these are all words we use to describe it moving, as in like what's there is excited or disturbed and then it illuminates. So no, I don't have to claim any of the things you're saying I'm claiming. You claimed light is a wave. I claim that waves aren't things. I never claimed light is a wave. I claimed waves aren't things, they're types of movement. So whatever light is whatever it is that's moving, which has to mean there's a background medium that's moving. There has to be a medium to have a wave. He says that I say light is a wave. No, I don't. I literally don't say that, though. So this is another lie. It's insane, bro. So is traveling. I literally don't claim either of those. So this is a blatant lie again. Isn't that weird? Why are you guys amping this up? That's what I want to know. What's up with all the flat earthers amping this up like he destroyed me and I'll never recover? This is just a lie. Every single sentence we've read so far was a lie. It's crazy. I can hear the critique. Well, no, he quoted you. No, because he took the quotes out of context when I'm trying to talk to Oakley, who's not letting me talk. So I'm like, dude, like, Like, well, what's it traveling through then? Like, as in your own paradigm, that doesn't even make sense, right? Even in your paradigm where you assume light's a particle that travels, it doesn't make sense. And so then he literally takes that out and he says that it's my claim and then I'm claiming it's traveling when, and then he says, oh, look, here he says it doesn't. So he's just a double speaking, contradictory moron. That's an egregious level of dishonesty. He'll never recover from this. And the truth is, if whoever stays over there and keeps supporting him, I don't care. Like, you've been exposed as someone who doesn't care about intellectual honesty. Like, we don't need you. Okay. Frequency refers to the number of waves that pass a fixed point in a unit time. And okay, it's literally nothing more than like a rate of oscillation, like how quick something's moving. It's not traveling or passing through anything. Then you head first face plant into a drained cement pond with rate of induction. What does rate mean? Right? And he says that rate is defined as the speed. Rate is defined as the speed. And I clearly say, no, rate of induction, but what we're quantifying with the rate is just the perception of illumination, how quickly it's perceived, right? We're not actually quantifying travel from point A to point B. And then he's saying, ha, 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 he's so stupid. He said it doesn't have a speed, but then he said rate. This is another lie. It's a blatant lie. How is this not eye-opening to some people? This is egregious. This dude is so desperate. Does he do this to Globers? I now feel bad for Globers if this is what he does. Let them have their followers. Who wants them? All they do is argue anyway. Let's do something fun, interesting, and uplifting for a chain, like making comments in chat feeds. Woohoo. Yeah, I agree. Dude, you guys are going to, I really do. I don't like to talk about the money thing too much, but I do need people to kind of rally behind me. I had a whole lot of bills that I was just having to try to pay and all this stuff. But I need like, once I can get all the financial stuff fully figured out, I want to start doing experiments. I already have stuff in my cart to do a bunch of different experiments or demonstrations. So I'm going to do the double slit. I want to recreate Michelson-Morley and then test the vertical axis and show there's a huge change on the vertical axis of the phase shift. I want to recreate Cavendish and show that it's electrostatics that's doing it. Maybe even the quantum eraser version after the double slit. And I want to do all these with like highly professional editing, like different angles with very high quality filmed, and make really dope stuff. I think that's what Flat Earth needs to do. So that's kind of what I want to start doing. So that should be, I think that's what we're going to be elevating, is all I'm saying. I want to replicate the Cavendish thing and stuff like that. I just need your money. Oh, what a loser. Okay, so move on. So he's saying the ether believers, what's the speed of light? No one claims that there's a speed when we say it's a convention, a pretty consistent rate of induction, which is nothing more than the quantification of the rate of perception or illumination, but it's not travel. Nothing's traveling. It's already there for the 400th time. All right, let's just let him bury himself and talk here.
Yeah, right. Or you can address the Cŝsᴍ 60. The point is simple, right? You can either ignore the question, yeah, right, or you can address it. So obviously the retort was, what's the question? His question, what sustains the electromagnetism? I'll tell you, electric current. Duh.
See what I'm saying? Dude, he can't define magnetism or electricity or electromagnetism or electrostatics. And he's sitting here pretending I'm dumb because he thinks he knows what it is, when admittedly he doesn't.
And when you shut it off, Cŝsᴍ,
that's called lying.
The magnetism goes bye-bye now. This booger eater doesn't know what magnetism or electromagnetism is.
Now, again, think about the level of dishonesty here, where everyone's been asking him very simple, what's with the 60 behind it? Is that some sort of dig at me? Yeah, he's saying that because I guess you have 60 on the name, you call yourself. So he's like trying to make fun of you and me at the same time and act like I'm your little like puppet or something. So very creative, very creative. I heard that nickname first when I was like, I don't know, in 4th grade. Very creative. Yeah, isn't that a very creative name, Twit? Wow, these people are amazing. So anyway, so he's saying he doesn't know the difference in electromagnetism and magnetism. And you'd be like, wait. So if you're critiquing what I think about it, then you must know exactly what it is to critique it, right? So can you define magnetism? What is magnetism? Oh, magnetic force. You can't use the word magnetic to define what is magnetism? What's the magnetic field comprised of? Like, what is magnetism? He can't actually answer the question. They say, are we talking about ether or magnetism? Because they have to find a way to dismiss the question because they can't answer the question. The truth is that the field that they're promoting, quantum mechanics, the particle physics that they're promoting doesn't adequately predict magnetism. There's way too much energy for particle physics predictions. So they had to come up with something called virtual photons and virtual particles to make the equations work because the prediction doesn't work. And actually what that means, if you're being honest, is that debunks the particle physics claim. It can't be accurate. But that's why they won't ever answer what is magnetism, because they can't. But he's literally going on ridiculing me about how I don't know the difference in magnetism and electromagnetism when he can't even like utter a definition of magnetism. Really think about that. Okay.
We're going to get it more into this through the presentation.
You'll never get into it.
From the key difference between the two, see, there's a difference already between the two. It should have given the game away when they said magnetism and electromagnetism, like they're two different words. They probably mean a couple of different things, you would think.
Good one.
I'm just spitballing.
You're a genius.
The key difference between the two is that magnetism refers to the phenomena associated with magnetic fields.
I think you're all running into conclusions that it's possible that we don't know what light is. You know that I'm saying that I don't know exactly what light is. You know that? Did you not know that? They're claiming they know exactly what it is. It's a discrete chunk of energy or information that travels from point A to point B. I'm claiming it looks like light is instant. It's already there. It's not this individual physical entity in and of itself. It's just, us seeing what's already there. It's just an illumination of what's already there. So I'm giving a viable framework and not claiming to know anything definitive. It looks like when you claim all you have to offer is we don't know. Well, some of us actually aren't interested in that. That's not valuable. Again, the analogy is I take my ACT and I make a 33. And then you're like, you're so stupid. You only made a 33 on your ACT. Ha ha ha. You're wrong. You answered questions wrong. Ha ha ha. I'm like, okay, what'd you make on the ACT? Oh, I didn't take it. I'm not going to take it. Okay, then you can't critique how I did when I took the test because you're just saying that we can't take the test. So it's invaluable and completely like lame. And it's without any value intellectually. D Murphy 25 in the chat. Thank you, David, for the $5 super chat. Shouts out. D Murphy. Okay. All right. Let's keep listening here.
Magnetic forces. Whereas, see, whenever you see this term in a compare and contrast, something different's coming at you. Whereas the term electromagnetism is the type of magnetism produced by the electric current and is associated with both magnetic fields and electric fields. Unbelievable. How stuff works, science, how stuff works. Before we go too much further, we should discuss how electromagnetics differ from your run-of-the-mill permanent magnets.
Think about how arrogant he is right here. When if you ask him what is magnetism and what's the magnetic field comprised of, he literally can't answer. He can't even utter answers. Ether or atoms. Nobody knows, bro. Let's try to make something from all these assumptions. Ether or atoms. Well, my point is that there's only one of those are even viable because particle physics makes a prediction and it's wrong. The prediction of ether isn't wrong. So the point is that it's a viable framework we can start to use to try to understand energy because we've been lied to about energy. We've been lied to about electricity and magnetism. In 2022, Harvard, Stanford, and Yale, none of them can define what it is because they all adhere to particle physics, and none of them can explain these phenomena. And if we can start to learn this type of stuff, we can take a lot of our power back. We can literally take power back, and we will become much more powerful and independent and have self-sustainability. So we're trying to figure it out. And we found out there's only one viable framework, and that framework is what gave us all the electricity that we have to this day. The very electrical society we have to this day came from that framework, and it's the only one that's viable. It's the only one that even has any explanation for light being instant, or for magnetism, or for electricity, or for electrostatics. That's the point. You guys don't want to address the point. You want to find a way to hand wave dismiss it because you don't want to admit this. They're getting intellectually eviscerated. That's not my problem. It's just not. All right, let's listen.
Like the ones holding your popsicle art to the fridge. As you know, magnets have two poles, north and south, and attract things made of steel, iron, la, 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 la. We're going to get down to the really important part right here.
La, 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 la. An
electromagnet is the same.
Let's actually read it, since he wants to skip over it. By the way, when he does that, he does it on purpose. Like he did that when he brought up the the Einstein quote. So let's read what it actually says. Before we go too much further, we should discuss how electromagnets differ from your run-of-the-mill permanent magnets, like the ones holding your popsicle art to the fridge. As you know, magnets have two poles, north and south. Do they? Because if that's like a misnomer of understanding, and it's like a really remedial description, because if I cut a magnet in half, if you cut a magnet in half, all of a sudden there's two new north and south poles. You can cut it 1,000,000 times and it keeps happening. So it's pressure mediation from the energy. Just saying, oh, there's a north pole and a south pole, and there's a positive charge and a negative charge. These are stupid terms that don't actually adequately explain the phenomena. That's why we've been held down and everyone in the world is lost and stupid and has utility bills, because they lied to us. We're suffering from aphasia. We can't properly define terms and have conversations to exchange ideas. As you know, and attract things made of steel, iron, or combination thereof. They attract things? No, there's not magnetic attraction. It's actually acceleration, right? Electrostatic acceleration. So you have a magnet and a magnet. It's creating energy, and then it mediates pressure. And then the magnets rush towards the null pressure point between the two, because the fields are pushing all the pressure around, mediating it. So then they rush to where the pressure is null, where there's like no pressure. It goes to that place seeking equilibrium. It doesn't literally pull it like some magical rope. This is why it's important to have this discussion. The people he's quoting are just wrong. But anyway, for example, if you have two bar magnets with ends marked north and south, the north end of the magnet will attract the south end of the other. On the other hand, the north end of one magnet will repel the north end of the other. And similarly, south will repel south. Let's just listen.
Wait, except it is temporary. The magnetic field only exists when electric current is flowing. Unfrigging believable. Just hold off on that, but we're going to get back to this. He's going to train wreck himself in a major way. The $6 million man's going to blush.
Okay, now think about this. So he's saying, I'm so stupid, I don't know the difference in magnetism and electromagnetism, but he can't define magnetism or electromagnetism or electrical current. He can't describe any of it, and he reifies the electron to try to describe it. Now think about this. I brought it up saying, well, you can make a magnet with, like, he's saying, he's screaming it, right? He's like, that whenever the current goes away, the magnetism goes bye-bye. That's not true. If you have a piece of neodymium iron boron, right? And before it's a magnet, you're going to make it a magnet. Then one way you can do that is you can introduce electrical voltage to the metal, and then it will make it coherent. It'll molecularly align it. That's a convention, right? It'll align the charge that holds that matter together, and it'll align it all together in the same direction. It becomes coherent, then it becomes a magnet. So the really strong energy overtakes the resting resonance and aligns the energy of the metal, right? And it makes it coherent and lined up, so then it can become a magnet. When you turn the electricity off, it remains a magnet. It's not like you turn the electricity off and then it stops being a magnet. That's not real. It actually stays being a magnet. So he's wrong. You can make what we call magnetism with electricity and then turn the electricity off. Now, electromagnetism is where electric current is constantly being fed and you have a magnetic effect. So they're different in that sense. That's what's different. So he doesn't understand these things. It's crazy. The arrogance. This is called lying. He's lying, and he's defending the most infamous liars of all time, which is mainstream academia and Rockefeller indoctrination and propaganda.
Oh, here's another one. Shit's at 60. There's vacuum energy. Obvious retort. What's vacuum energy? Shit's it. Answer. Vacuum, colloquially, of course. That's his magic word. He's got 3 of them. We'll get to that. Colloquially, of course, there's no such thing. What? There's no such thing as vacuum in nature, colloquially or otherwise, booger eater. Therefore, you just basically said no such thing energy.
Okay, this is another lie, intentionally misrepresenting what's going on so that they can find a way to dismiss the actual substance of the argument because they can't actually debate it. Right? This is so funny. It's so funny. The fact this guy used to teach, man, oh my goodness. So, well, I said colloquially, of course, because I preemptively am addressing their rebut, which is that nature abhors a vacuum and there's no such thing as a vacuum, which they use that to dismiss the phenomena because they can't address it. So I said, well, colloquially, of course, because there's no such thing, technically speaking. And then if you use the atomic theory, the convention, then you would say there's at least a few hydrogen atoms per cubic meter, right? Which, again, atoms are just a convention. There's no physical little balls anywhere. So anyway, and that's never been proven and you can't see them. So what I'm explaining is that in a vacuum chamber where you take as much air out as you can, right? We have energy in there, electromagnetic fluctuations and energy, and particle physics can't predict it based on assuming these physical material atoms everywhere. You don't have energy. You don't have your prediction is that there's not going to be much energy, but we see way more energy than is predicted by particle physics. So it's called vacuum energy or 0-point energy. Okay. So he's trying to just use the diversion tactic of the word vacuum. So he doesn't address the actual argument, which is that particle physics does not predict the energy we see in a vacuum chamber. They're like, oh, well, there's no such thing as a vacuum, so I don't have to address the phenomena. Think about how incompetent and dishonest. This is, once again, a lie. This is lying. This is blatant dishonesty. This is such a bad look for flat earthers. Flat earthers don't have to lie. We don't have to lie. We have the truth on our side. Truth is not fear investigation. We don't have to use the same tactics of sophistry that the Globers use. We don't have to misrepresent them. We don't have to find a way to throw their conversation out or anything they bring to the table. Let's find a way to dismiss it and hand wave dismiss all the arguments. We can discuss all things because we have the truth on our side. We don't have to lie. We should never lower ourselves to lying like this.
Vacuum energy. It's right here. It's right there, right in front of your face. That's what you said. I mean, seriously, you said that. You even admitted to it. Key learning objective. Whenever this double speaking dipshit is getting ready to change the meaning of words, it will always be prefaced by colloquially, quote or unquote, and semantics. So,
right. So whenever I say quote unquote, intelligent people are trying to hear the actual substance of what I'm saying. And when I say colloquially, of course, because there's no such thing as a literal perfect vacuum. We're talking about a vacuum chamber. So when I say colloquially, of course, I'm talking about, well, we use the word vacuum colloquially referencing a vacuum chamber. So like, I can't listen to this much Q. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not going to listen to a bunch of it. I just want to show you that. So actually what we'll do, I agree with you. So I just want some people are going to try to say that like, I'm misrepresenting it. No, I'm reading what's here, and I listened to some of it, and it was really hard to listen to. So I'll take a break on listening to what he says. Okay. So he quotes me here. Now, that was another lie, right? Every slide has been a lie. Can we do a rap battle instead? I thought about making a diss track. I will never do it, though, because they don't deserve to get that much clout or anything. Like, I may address some of the people, like overall address people that attack me and stuff with witty bars, but no, not at all. A rap battle? Are you serious? Okay. So here's a quote from me. So photons and electrons are not science. He said, correct. So their argument was, duh, right? Correct. The existence of something is a what is inquiry. The scientific method only adjudicates natural cause and effect or how and why suppositions. So of course, just because an inquiry is not scientific, it doesn't preclude the trueness and or demonstration thereof. It all depends on the question being asked. Now, I literally say this. This is like my argument. He's acting like I'm so stupid, this has to be taught to me because I don't understand it. But this is actually my argument, right? Which is that just because something can't be scientifically proven with this rigid dogmatic application of science, you can still know things exist numerous ways. For one, we can just observe things. Even if we can't figure out and isolate the cause, we can observe them and know that they happen. In addition, we can just use logical deduction and true dichotomies to understand that something exists. I say this all the time. I make it very clear. Obviously, I know this. So he's again lying, like Trump portraying that I don't, right? And so when I say photons and electrons are not science, what I'm saying is there are no scientific experiments that actually validate and verify the material nature of the electron or that there's a physical particle called a photon. They're just models. It's all stemmed from a philosophical model, right? Atomism, then breaking all the way down to subatomic particles and quantum mechanics. And then they reify the existence of everything being matter or being physical particles so that they can quantify them. And so then when you start making claims about what these electrons are doing or what these photons are doing, and you call that science, you're wrong. That isn't science. You didn't scientifically verify that the electron did anything or that the photon did anything. Okay. So that's the actual argument. This is once again a lie. It's a straw man, a misrepresentation, also known as a lie, intentionally. Okay. So photons and electrons are not science. So you're talking about philosophy. So then he says, so the existence of trees, leaves, waters, rocks, flamingos, consciousness, etc. aren't science. Therefore, according to you, they must be philosophy. So this is, again, another lie. What he's saying is I'm claiming that if something isn't science, then it's philosophy, that the only two things that can exist are science and philosophy. And that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm explaining that specifically electrons and photons stem from a philosophy of atomism, that everything's comprised of physical particles. And so this is a philosophical presupposition and reification that you then attribute to what you see. Okay, so this is another lie. He's saying I'm claiming that if it's not science, no, I'm making a specific claim in context that you're misrepresenting so you can then straw man me even further, built upon that lie to lie some more to try to make me look stupid. I mean, this is crazy, right? Like, am I tripping? How insane is this? It's so dishonest. Here he says the double slit experiment is not an experiment. It has a man-made device. This is one of the most egregious lies. They're all lies. We haven't found one slide that isn't a lie yet. Isn't that crazy? You got to be honest. That's pretty weird, right? Like, why are you so weird, bro? Why are you making this weird? So when I said the double slit experiment is not an experiment, it has a man-made device, I'm being sarcastic, okay? So the context is, this is like people that hate on the Bible, but they pull stuff out of context and then they don't go to the Hebrew, right? It's the same thing. So whenever I said the double slit experiment is not an experiment, it has a man-made device, what I was doing was I was making fun of the position. I was being sarcastic because whenever I brought up electrostatics, FED, that panel, their whole, because what they did was they put an egg in water, put some salt in there, and said, look, we proved density disequilibrium makes things go up or go down. So I'm like, well, okay, that's true. We don't deny density disequilibrium at all. We know that, right? You can prove it a million ways. You can just throw a beach ball in the air and then take the beach ball down to the bottom of the ocean or a pool and it goes up, right? Because you manipulated the density of the medium and that makes things go up or down. We don't deny that. By the way, the globe Earth doesn't deny that either. So their experiment actually didn't do anything. But anyway, we all know that. But I was saying there's another variable that you're not accounting for. It's called electrostatics. And so there's electrostatic acceleration. Electrostatics is an attractive force. It holds all matter together, right? And what's funny is QE actually agreed with me on that. And that's why he never jumped in with them to dogpile me. And he actually moderated a debate I had with Brian Logic back in the day about it. And he told me in private that he has never been a density-only guy and that he actually agrees with me. So there's something that sets that bias or that up and down. There's something that sets the up and down, right? And so it's an electric gradient, this electrostatic field, everything's electrostatic. And so I'm like, well, we can prove this with a Van de Graaff generator. So naturally occurring observable phenomena, electrostatic levitation. We have bumblebees, we have, we have beetles doing this with levitating with electrostatics. We have spider ballooning that does that with electrostatics. So we have phenomena naturally occurring. So we're going to try to figure out the cause of it, right? So like, oh, things go up and down. So we want to figure out the cause of it. So we're going to manipulate the variable of electrostatics to see if it's a cause. Well, we can use a Van de Graaff generator, increase electrostatics, and we can make things float. So that proves that electrostatics is a cause of things going up and down. And they all dismissed it, saying, no, you have to use a man-made device called a Van de Graaff generator. I'm like, what? You can't do almost any scientific experiment without a man-made device. And so I brought this up saying that in their own paradigm, they're being hypocritical because they critique me saying that's a man-made device. And then they bring up the double slit experiment, calling it an experiment, right? And so I'm sarcastically making fun of it when I say this. I'm sarcastically saying, oh, the double slit experiment's not an experiment. There's a man-made device. Being sarcastic, making fun of their position. He takes that quote of me making fun of their position and how stupid it is to say something like that, and then attributes it to me like it's my claim. He totally reversed your premise blatantly. Dude, blatantly. Dude, the level of dishonesty with that one is insane, bro. Think about that. I was literally making fun of it, and he tries to act like it's my claim so he can call me stupid. And then the little like FED parrots on the panel don't realize that they're ironically, he's bashing all the retort and rebuttals to my electrostatic demonstration or experiment this whole time. But they, of course, they don't get that. They're caught up in like all those stupid nonsense. So anyway, so I think that's pretty crazy, right? That's, if you understand what's going on, he literally took something I said sarcastically, making fun of the stupidity and insanity of a certain position, then took the quote out of context and claimed that I was making that claim to make me look stupid. It's crazy. He said, all experiments have man-made device. Okay, first he said, which double slit experiment? There are literally thousands of alleged double slit experiments. How about some of that specificity that you always request? Okay, yeah, like anything that does what the double slit claims to do, it doesn't matter. All of the thousands, all of them, they go in there trying to explain it, assuming that the light's traveling from point A to point B, and almost all of it assumes that the photon is real and reifies it. And so all these double slits experiments, and like, so this is another thing I was pointing out, the hypocrisy is if you say Μ-Morley experiment, they'll scream at you and say, Μ-Morley what? And then that's not an experiment. That's not a scientific experiment. You're not allowed to say that. Nope. And then, so then they're like, okay, Μ-Morley demonstration. And then they won't talk about it because they think they hand wave dismissed it by saying, oh, you called it an experiment. But then they bring up double slit experiment, which has the word experiment in, but based on their own parameters, that's not a scientific experiment. So that's just the whole point that I was pointing out, which he's just lying about. Again, this is just another lie. But anyway, there are literally thousands. Yeah, any of them, they all claim that light's traveling from point A to point B. It's all these, you know what I'm talking about. It's a specific type of methodology called the double slit experiment. And so you're just being dishonest again to find a way to hand wave dismiss my actual arguments. Then he says, for goodness sakes, all experiments have man-made devices in them. It's the natural phenomena that must be natural. The equipment used in the experiment has absolutely nothing to do with whether the hypothesis or the experiment is scientifically valid or not. By the way, you fell fifth grade general science again. And you see how I'm literally, and he's still calling it an experiment. Yeah, he's still calling it an experiment. I know it's hilarious, but you see how he's just lying. He's as bad as a vegan. Yo, chill out. I know some really cool vegans. I saw my boy in here. There were far too many strawmans in that presentation. It was quite sad. Kind of glad I missed the original. Yeah, it was terrible, bro. All right, so we'll move on. This is just again another lie. I'm shocked of how much a strawman this is. Dude, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. My entire point is that, dude, you can obviously use man-made devices. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Now, he's saying the same thing, but claiming I claim the opposite of that, when it's actually his panel that has only ever made me say such a ridiculous thing. Like, it has made me had to address it. So anyway, move on. Every slide. You see, I'm not skipping any slides. You guys see this, right? I haven't even looked at all of it. I just heard some of it. I still didn't plan any of this. I'm just going through it live with you guys, and it's every single slide. Any syrup to this waffle? Okay, the actual argument, this is a quote from me. The actual argument is we have only two viable or potentially viable frameworks that have been offered for interpretation. And so then he starts mocking me for saying potentially viable. When I'm actually pointing out, right, I'm like, I even use my hands when I do this. I'm like, okay, we have two options. Okay, so we're going to look at it like which one's viable. We have two potentially viable options. We have atomism and ether. And we're going to determine which one is the most viable. And so he made fun of me for saying potentially viable, calling me stupid. Okay. So just there's more dishonesty. All of it is described by dishonesty. Interpretation of what, pray tell? So it's atomism, materialism, and the ether, immaterialism. See, this is another straw man. I don't say atomism, materialism, ether, immaterialism. I mean, there's some truth to it, but my point is that atomism itself stems from the ideology of materialism. That's true. And then the other one doesn't. So he says interpretation of what, pray tell? The natural world. That's the whole point. We have two basic frameworks there are two famous ones that have been proposed, atomism and the ether, to explain the natural world, to understand the phenomena observed within the natural world. So that's the answer. Explain what, interpretation of what, the natural world. So he says then, ipsic dixit, he himself said, baseless, bare assertion fallacy, ether, and that's that it's immaterial, resulting in an overall false dichotomy fallacy. Now, in my streams, I've very clearly stated, I'm not claiming it's literally a true dichotomy, meaning there's nothing else you could come up with to propose to try to interpret the natural world. I've explained that these are the two famous ones. These are seemingly the only ones that have even pretended to have any type of viability whatsoever. And most of the world believes one of them, which is atomism, atomic theory, then subatomic particles stemming off of that, and then quantum mechanics. Right. And then the ether was thrown out because of the heliocentric model. And these are the two. Now, I said it's not literally a true dichotomy. You can come up with a different option. Like some people have proposed something called rope hypothesis. Right. And I even addressed all this. So he's intentionally lying again. It's really weird. It's getting really weird. So it says a false dichotomy when I literally explain it's not literally a true dichotomy. It's just like if you want to offer a third option, you can. But we all know these are the two. And the people that I was rebutting are all stemming from atomism with subatomic particles and quantum mechanics, and the atom and the photon and the electron and all this other stuff. So this is just another lie. And so then he says, how about if I offered two frameworks, atomism and whatever he said here? I don't know. Basically just saying, like, you can't just say the ether. I'm just explaining that historically speaking, these are the two that have been proposed. So there's just more dishonesty. Okay. Did you know that if the premise of your argument is fallacious, it immediately renders your entire argument void? Now, he's saying this because this is like the very beginning of my presentation. I explain atomism and ether, and I just explain it to you guys, right? And this is just objective. Okay. These are like the two primary ones that have ever been propped up. The whole world, most of the world believes one of them, and it's bankrupt and it doesn't work. And the other one, ether, actually is viable. It can explain these things. It's much more open-ended and malleable. So it can explain a lot of these things, like how light could be instant and stuff. And so he says this right here, that it makes it all null and void, because he wanted to find a way to not have to actually respond to the specificity of my presentation or my argument. He wanted to find a way to dismiss it and to throw it out. So that's what he did here, because they can't rebut the presentation. You notice that all this is taking stuff out of context of what I'm saying in different conversations on Discord or in my streams or whatever, because he can't debate the presentation. He can't rebut it. He can't. It just sent him into a tailspin because he's like, damn, he can't rebut it. So they're trying to say it's a false dichotomy and that they're unrelated. No, they're not unrelated. They're interpretations of the natural world. If you presuppose atomism, which stems from the idea of materialism, then you're going to say everything's made of particles so we can quantify it. And that's wrong. It doesn't explain stuff like magnetism. Its predictions are wrong. So anyway, so this was another lie. Another lie. When we're talking about people's ideologies, are your offerings mutually exclusive? Can someone acknowledge that the material world exists? Well, duh. Yet still know with absolute certainty that the immaterial or supernatural exists. This is another lie. Right? Like, this is crazy. This is what a glober would do. Try to find a way that they can take your words out of context and then try to make it look like you were saying something you weren't saying. So let me just explain this one. All right. So very simply, I've explained in my presentation that I'm defining materialism as, which is like a very popular definition. You can look it up anywhere. I even use Harvard to source the very philosophy's foundation itself. But so the idea of materialism being that if it's not materially manifest, it does not exist, which is like a verbatim quote from Oakley. And then they said, you need context or whatever. Like, okay. And I'm saying, I even clarified, like, I don't think, like, he watched Brian's debate too with me, which I explained this. I don't think that any of you guys are literally materialists, because you really can't be a flat earther and be a materialist, right? You know that if the Earth's stationary, something had to place it here. So I'm saying that you're defending a framework that is confined to materialism, right? You're defending the same framework that all the atheists, physicists, and all these people that they adhere to, which is materialism, that nothing exists outside the material world, and that all things stem from matter, right? So, or some interaction within matter, and that everything's confined to the material world. So that's what I'm actually saying. So this is another lie. where he tries to bring up a different definition of materialism and say that's what I'm meaning, so he can avoid the actual implication of my argument, because he's saying we're all materialists because we all have to acknowledge the material world exists, which is just a very desperate lie or straw man again, right? You guys might see now why I titled this lies. Okay, so materialism and atheism go together. Yeah, for sure. So my point is very simple, right? It's like, well, if you're going to adopt the ideology, the philosophy of materialism or quantum mechanics and particle physics, that everything has to be part of this material world, then you're going to be confined in what you can understand, and that this comes from a materialistic worldview. That's the overarching thing. Now, you may not be a materialist, but you're promoting a framework that is confined to materialism, and this is objective. But he couldn't address the actual argument, so he had to straw man it again by lying about what I was actually saying. Okay. Are you saying that you are not a materialist? And then he says, what are you made of, material or immaterial? So this is all just different questions trying to make me look dumb. Like, what'd you sleep on last night, material or immaterial? Saying that I'm stupid, which again, I know that we're all materialists applying that definition. We all have to acknowledge the material world exists. I'm saying that the framework itself is confined to that's all that does exist. And you're promoting that framework, whether you're a materialist or not. You're promoting a framework confined to materialism by definition. So he had to avoid it and dodge it with another straw man fallacy. So, and then he said, in accordance with your false dichotomy fallacy, which it's not a false dichotomy, you're just misrepresenting it on purpose. And then just a bunch of ad homs here. And I said the evil FED panel members are materialists, when I've clearly stated I don't think any of them are technically materialists. Like, I know Chocolate, I know Eli, I like both of those guys. I don't think any of them are materialists, right? I'm explaining they're promoting a worldview or a framework that comes from the worldview of materialism. That's the fifth time I've had to say that. I don't see how someone could understand it, but. So then he's saying defining philosophical naturalism in lieu of throwing the entire human race under the bus may be illuminating. Pro tip. So that's what he's trying to say, is that it's like philosophical naturalism as opposed to materialism, which we all know, and you can look up define materialism and blah, blah, blah. He just wanted to pick out a different definition and try to say I'm stupid by, instead of addressing the actual merit of my argument, what I'm actually saying, and this is why I say it's like semantical arguments, semantical diversions. It's sophistry. It's dishonesty. He's like, oh, you're using the word semantics. Oh. Then he'll go on to lecture me about the Socratic method, which we all know what that is. You have to come to an agreement on terms to have a conversation. He's actually ironically throwing the Socratic method out because in good faith he could understand what I'm saying when I define how I'm using stuff, and he doesn't want to actually address the merits of the argument. So we'll move on. Just because you declare ether and ether is immaterial doesn't make it so. I never said that is true. I never said because I say it, it's so. It's akin to a materialist claiming turkey squirrels exist, and they are material, therefore they must exist. That's just so stupid. I never said that. That's a straw man. Again, that's another lie. Then he says, you shoot light at a double slit. They claim a single photon enters two slits simultaneously and collides with itself. Wrong. And then he quotes, let's let him read it here.
Kruger, numpty dipshit, just making shit up on the spot because that's all he can do, and he thinks he can Elmer Fudd sophistry his way out of it every time. He actually thinks he can do it. He believes he's done it over and over again.
I'm objectively destroying you.
Shit's at 60. You shoot a light at a double slit. They claim that a single photon enters two slits simultaneously and collides with itself. Wrong.
Why are you so emotional?
Professor Anton Zeilinger, premier quantum physicist. Double slit experiment through the wormhole. We are not allowed to talk about the photon passing through this or this slit. Neither are we allowed to say the photon passes through both slits. All this kind of language is not applicable. So it begs the question, who are these they that you conjured up here? Who are these?
Okay, yeah. So I explained this in the debate I had with Brian, if anybody saw that. Sorry, QE, I got them mixed up. he literally admits he watched that in this presentation, by the way, but I explain very clearly what I mean and what's going on here. So that's what's so sad. But I'm like, I know, like I'm making a joke. I'm using hyperbole to elucidate the insanity of the position of particle physics that lights a physical particle called the photon that travels from point A to point B. Because to try to get their math to work, which that's what quantum mechanics is. If you look at the etymology of quantum going to like the German etymology, right, then you're going to get to counts. So it's like quantity, quantum, quantify. And they have to count things, so everything has to be a quanta or a certain units that can be counted and quantified, right? And so that's what it's all about. So anyway, when they try to get their math to work in the double slit, they have to use the math of superposition, which is this mathematical convention of the photon can be in two places simultaneously, so they can try to get some type of equation out of it. So as they say, they shoot one single photon, which is a lie. And then they claim that, well, you know, mathematically it's it's going through two slits and then colliding with itself to give you a wave interference pattern. So I'm elucidating the absurdity of that claim by pointing out, like, oh, how does a single photon go through two slits simultaneously? I'm pointing out your math doesn't work, your predictions don't work, they've been debunked. And obviously no one was intellectually honest enough to address what I'm clearly saying. So then I clearly denoted this in the debate with Brian, and then he admits he watched it, then he comes out and does this anyway. So that means, again, that quote about do not attribute malice to what can be adequately explained with incompetence doesn't apply here, because he's intentionally being dishonest. He's intentionally lying and misrepresenting what I'm saying. So anyway, that's my point, is that their math doesn't work. They have to make up this nonsense because their particle physics prediction is wrong. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so this is another lie to misrepresent what I was actually saying. Try to make me look stupid. And if the way he's painting everything, if I was saying the stuff he's claiming, I would be stupid. But I'm literally not. They're all lies. Every single one of them is a lie. And then he's always citing like these materialistic physicists within the heliocentric paradigm, within the relativistic paradigm, claiming that they're basically the arbiter of truth. If you go cite someone, he'll say that it's wrong, it's stupid, no one cares, even if it's Stanford, Harvard, Yale. But when he cites them, they're automatically true. Like he is the arbiter of all truth, and everyone must run a citation by him, and he gets to determine from his chair of importance, his throne, of the FE cult leader, of what goes and what doesn't go. So like, I don't care what that guy says. And he's right. He's right. He's talking about the semantics, meaning like the vernacular, the way that we speak about it. Right. But the point is they can't determine which slit it goes through. They don't know. Mathematically, they use superposition within quantum to explain how it goes through both slits simultaneously. That's the actual argument. This is another lie. Interesting.
Shit's at 60. No one understands this better than me. This is going to be hilarious. Oh, it's been hilarious so far.
It is hilarious. It's still hilarious. And did I say no one understands this better than me? I don't think I actually said that. But if those words came out of my mouth, I can almost assure you that a lot, because I've seen it happen like 10 times where I know he's actually added words or changed it and said, well, that's what I meant. And so he makes up the quotes to make them look bad. He actually changes the words. These aren't even direct quotes, which I can't imagine that being much more dishonest. But when you're intentionally taking them out of context, even to the extent where I'm sarcastically making fun of a position and you pretend I'm making that claim, you couldn't be lamer than that. You couldn't be. That is like, there are many anti-flat earthers that aren't even that dishonest. That's like a fight the tight shirt level dishonest. So I don't want to just be reiterative. But anyway, so me saying this, I can't remember. I think what I said in context was, this is confounded physicists for decades, and no one can understand the double slit. It's so confusing. How does the photon know that we're observing it? And how does it transcend time and alter events that have already happened? It's so confounding. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, I understand it. I researched it for just like 45 minutes. And once I fully understood it, I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, I understand it. It's not hard. I'm like, so I might have said something to the extent of like, they can't understand it, but I can. Meaning like and I even said this, I said, because they have an improper framework. They have an inaccurate presupposition that light is physically traveling from point A to point B. and then they reify the photon so they can't understand it. They can't explain it. But if you have a proper framework, I even specifically said, I'm not claiming like it's me. I'm not claiming I'm some type of genius or something. I'm just saying I'm applying a proper framework. That's why I can actually understand it, and they can't. And he tried to make it out like I was saying I'm like a genius that knows it more than anyone else in the world, and no one understands better than me. And it is going to be hilarious because it's still hilarious because you can't refute it.
Or
it's crazy.
This is
he said you're under the impression that a single impact happens. You actually think that there's just one at a time. Then afterwards, it was told there's an actual demonstration, literally thousands, and the foundations of hundreds of industries and technologies. Single photon impacts in the description box of every single video of Nathan's for nearly the life of the channel. And I said, there isn't a single photon impact. Okay, you don't actually shoot a single photon. Listen carefully, you don't actually isolate a single chunk at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, if this isn't willfully blind, fanatical, religious zealotry, what is it? This is objective. They claim they shoot a single photon. When you look into it, it's like, well, we think we limited the probability the most that we can, so we don't actually know that we just shoot one at a time. But we get a single dot pattern. Okay, so we assume that it's a physical photon going to hit it when we have like a really weak, incoherent light source and we cut it off or whatever, right? I'm like, that's not. You don't understand. That's not. You don't actually shoot a single photon. Like that's just, you reify the photon, assume it, and then you see this impact and you assume that it's literally hitting it. That's what I'm actually saying. So this is another lie. And Twit said there's more. Yeah, because I'm just doing this one time. So I'm thoroughly doing it. I'm not gonna do it again. I do have a debate at 9, so I won't be going too much longer, but I'll probably do have another hour. Okay, so that's what I'm actually saying, right? I'm saying you can't verify you shot a single physical particle called the photon, a discrete chunk of information. You don't actually isolate this and verify this is real at all. This doesn't happen. This is not real. That's what I'm actually saying. So this is just another lie. Try to call me stupid. And this is why they have to do all this, by the way. They've had this little video, this mainstream Morgan Freeman video claiming something about photons defined as an experiment in their description box for many years. 9 Eastern time. Yeah, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's about, did the Messiah come back in 70 AD? And we've already had the millennial reign. That's the debate. And I'm saying no. Another debate tonight? Yeah, no, man. I'm over here putting this work in, bro. And then people were like, oh, Austin tries to make money doing this. It's like, oh, I should probably just literally kill myself and then have a physical migraine after doing that debate last night. And I should just put in hours and hours of all this stuff for free because you're some weirdo on the internet that's like, whatever. Totally side ran there. So preterism. Yeah. Some people claim not to claim that exact ideology and they call it different stuff. Anyway, so a lack of comprehension, thriving on their cliche, compelled by self-resentment. Yeah. All right. So anyway, if this isn't willful, blind, religious zealotry, ironically, that's what you're doing. You're religiously reifying the idea that there's a physical photon. So this is another lie.
This is a series of statements by Whitsitt. And then the middle one.
Oh my gosh. So I just explained all that. I don't have to lie. So I'm just honestly saying what's happening. He says here, electrical field theory, like the double slit theory of the physical photon, and then cuts it off. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't even make any sense. So obviously there's context there where I'm saying something. He takes out electrical field theory, like the double slit theory of the physical photon, to try to take it out and say that I'm stupid, right? And says yet another and long list of incoherent, fallacious juxtapositions from something you just made up. There is no double slit theory. So you just conjure up BS to somehow provide juxtapositional validity in the electrical field theory that doesn't and never existed either. Electrical field theory never existed? Is the debate on modern day debate now? It's on my boy Vader Bear's channel. Here, I'll drop the link in the chat just a sec. So what I'm obviously doing here is when I say the double slit theory, I'm saying what every one of those people, any of the physicists you want to name, including QE or Oakley, any of them, all these people, like almost all of them that go into the double slit, what they do is, here's the link to the donation. To the debate. QE does not know what he cited. In the same video, it states the single photon must be traveling through both slits And the professor states what he cited because they are not real in quantum mechanic terms, aka no particles exist in a location. Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. Shout out to my boy Gleam. Yikes. Is that real? I've never watched the video. Because I already know what they're claiming is that little dot proves the light's physically traveling and hitting it. I just know that's stupid. Yeah, that's pretty funny. QE does not know what he cited in the same video. It states the single photon must be traveling through both slits. And the professor states that what he cited because they're not real in quantum mechanic terms. Oh my goodness. Lazy is not a word that can be connected to you. I don't know how you do it, but I'm glad you do. Thank you for the kind words. I find the photon plenty funny on its own. They tell us it's massless, but the globers tell us gravity is bending it around the sun to hide the effects of heliocentrism, so the sky just looks geocentric. Yeah, I know. It's so funny, bro. It's so funny. It's massless, and it doesn't have a charge, and it doesn't have any magnetic property. It's not real. It doesn't exist. Of course, it doesn't have anything. It's actually, like I told you guys, but it's actually like if you have a dielectric oscillating field line, and you have a magnetic oscillating field line where they intersect, right? They call that intersection, which is an event of intersection. They call that a photon. Okay. Anyway, so I was just saying the double slit theory. What I'm clearly saying in context, that's why I had to take it out and couldn't even probably finish the sentence because probably like 4 more words would show what I was saying. So what I was actually explaining is that the way that they go into it, all assuming the physical particle of the photon traveling from point A to point B, and that's what I'm calling the theory in context, as opposed to like electrical field theory or applying ether, which would be that the light's already there, and so it's not physically traveling. And those are clearly contrasted and 2 different things. And so he's just once again lying, saying that that's a false juxtaposition. So yeah, once again, another strawman fallacy and another lie. Okay, atomism is a theoretical, not scientifically theory. Now, I would never say that. I don't know. That's how you know these quotes aren't even like actually completely accurate, but it doesn't matter. They seem somewhat like what I said. I know he didn't just completely make them up. He just kind of, like what's that little gap in the middle, right? But anyway, who cares? So atomism is a theoretical, not scientifical theory. Scientifically theory, whatever. So atomism, and I don't think I would ever say scientifically theory. So atomism, materialism isn't a scientific theory. Yes, we already know, and we never claimed it was. It's non sequitur, akin to saying beach balls is a theoretical, not scientific theory. So this is what I'm saying, though. My point is that atomism is philosophy, and it tracks all the way down to subatomic particles and quantum mechanics, assuming everything's comprised of physical particles. And they're invoking these reifications and these begging the question fallacies and these assumptions and presuppositions as if they can now show us science. They're like, oh, look, if I presuppose that the electron is a little physical particle of matter, then look, I can do science with the electron. But the point is that you have a philosophy that you are conflating into your demonstrations. Got to go check out the debate. Okay, thanks for kicking it. We're on the gravy train. Austin, you do bro. You do what you do, bro. F the effers. Yeah, so this is, again, just taking out of context what I actually say so he can straw man it and lie about it. The actual photographic plate assumes an interaction between a photon and electron to give you a discrete chunk. And obviously in context, right, what I'm saying, and I've definitely explained this 100% thoroughly. I would like when I'm explaining, I'm not showing it. Okay, so let's just see. I want to hear what he says here.
Does it now? An interaction being offered. You speak much. Shits it. The actual photographic plate assumes, does it now, an interaction between a photon and an electron to give you a discrete chunk. This is just another pathetic fallacy. Do photographic plates have bad breath also? Open-toed sandals? They're etherites. Newsflash, inanimate objects don't assume. Yeah.
Okay, so are you guys seeing that?
Newsflash.
So he's trying to say that what I was saying was that the photographic plate has sentience and is making an assumption that it's it's assuming an interaction between a photon and an electron to give you. And what I'm actually saying is that when you invoke the photographic plate, right? This man was teaching. I hope not children. Yeah, it's crazy. that what I was actually saying was that whenever they're all invoking this photographic plate as if to prove that light's a physical particle traveling and hitting it, right? Your interpretation of the photographic plate, right? It assumes that there's an interaction between a photon and electron to give you this like discrete pattern or discrete chunk or discrete dot, right? So it's based on a reification fallacy and a begging the question where you assume that a physical photon hits an atom, then dislodges an electron, and then that's what gives you the pattern. Look at how much of a lie this is. Dude sounds like a troll. Dude, this is like psychopathic. Like Bob said, like this is crazy. How can you support this as a flat earther? That's what I don't get. Bro, we can all see what they're doing and it's completely transparent. They can't address your real claims, so they attack your words. No need to do this unless you want to. They got nada. Well, I just want to address this one time. This is their quote unquote home run, and then we're moving on and elevating. And the sad thing is QE thinks he's witty in between his lies. Yeah, he's claiming that you think the plate is sentient. Ha ha ha. Yeah, dude. How insane is that? How insane is that, bro? It's such a blatant lie. So yeah, I mean, but see, now what he doesn't do is address what I'm actually saying, right? That's what he doesn't do. Like, so he doesn't address the actual argument, which is that you're reifying the photon and electron, the interaction between a photon, an atom, and electron, to then claim that it's a physical particle and call the photon hitting the plate. And that's a fundamental reification fallacy. And that's the debate itself, begging what's in contention. And so they won't address that argument, but he actually had the audacity to quote it, I'm claiming that the plate itself has sentience, and then still doesn't address the actual argument. This is a blatant lie. This is another blatant lie. Okay, here we go. This is a great point here. So he says, again, Einstein said that space-time must have physical properties. Let's listen to what he says here, actually.
That his ether, Czo's ether, is the same as Einstein's ether, right? And Czo tries to get out of it by actually stating, this is the citation, and I've already quoted it, and it's not the same. That's the context that we're in. So let's hear what he said. Einstein.
Yeah, I said, like, I can pretty much remember the quote off the top of my head. And since I used the word cited, then he thought that's a home run. Somehow now electrons exist, I guess. I don't know.
Einstein said that space-time must have. No, he didn't. He never stated that. This isn't a citation, folks. You paraphrased him erroneously. That's the worst of your issues. Space-time, and we'll get to that here.
It's the worst of my issues.
Space-time must have physical properties in the sense there must exist an ether because we have nothing for space-time intervals or the propagation of light, but do not think of it as a medium that motion may be applied to.
Now, this is how I know he's lying and misquoting me, because I didn't say propagation of light, because I have a pretty good memory. And so when I actually quote it, I'm like, well, what I do say must have, right? So what I always say, because that's how I remembered it for whatever reason. So I'm like, well, what Einstein said was that, space-time must have physical properties. In this sense, there must exist an ether. In fact, space without ether is unthinkable, but this may not be thought for our time intervals and measuring rods and clocks, but this may not be thought of as a medium in which motion can be applied to it. Now, this is me actually explaining it. Okay. So anyway, let's just get back to this. All comes back to you because they brought this up to kind of what they're claiming is that when we talk about the ether, we're promoting relativity and we're promoting the same ether that Einstein did. So he had to add in propagation of light, even though I didn't actually say that, because that's like how he's trying to argue against me. So he lied and put that in there. I guarantee you if you go look at all the quotes, there's tons of stuff he added in and changed the words and left stuff out to make me look bad. That's even worse. That's even worse. It's so dishonest. He should never recover. Flat Earthers should never support anyone like this. It is a bad look for us. To support people like him and Oakley and FED is a very bad look for Flat Earth. And I bit my tongue for years. And unfortunately, this is where we are.
Took a couple things out of there that he said. This isn't a citation. Like I said, it's a paraphrase, and an erroneous one at that, because must have doesn't show up in here at all. We're going to go through this here in a second. Now, this is your statement after it, because he was replacing the ether because it debunked the idea that the Earth was moving. Really?
Objectively.
So Einstein replaced ether with ether?
He thinks that's a home run, right? Like, oh, Einstein replaced ether with ether. He replaced the ether that we're discussing of electrical field theory with Oliver Heaviside, Nikola Tesla, Faraday, Charles Produce Steinmetz, and many others, where it is a medium that sustains electromagnetic energy and propagation, not that it travels, but that the medium moves or vibrates, that the disturbance has a medium and that the energy is sustained within a medium, right? And Einstein had to do away with that. Now, what he left out is you can watch the conversation with Brian, which is where this is from when we're talking about it. And so he watched the debate with Brian. And I explained to Brian, also read the quote from Einstein where he said, if this is a direct quote from Einstein. Now, it might be a couple words off. Like I said, I'm not literally an encyclopedia. You know what I'm saying? But he says, if Michelson-Morley had not brought us into serious embarrassment, then no one would have even considered the theory of relativity as a halfway redemption. So that was me explaining the context, which is that because of Michelson-Morley, he had to propose it. There's also another, it's actually in his writings, or no, this isn't a speech he gave about relativity where he explains Michelson-Morley is what sparked his motivation to start trying to create the theory of special relativity, because he had to explain it because it didn't show that the Earth was orbiting based on the predictions. So they either had to throw out that the Earth is orbiting or throw out the ether. And so they threw out the ether and said that the ether as previously defined does not exist, which is as a medium. Okay. So that's the context. So yes, he replaced the ether we're talking about. And then they're not being intellectual enough at all to understand it. Right. And what he's saying is, there's an ether in the sense of physical properties because the ether that he's replacing had physical properties. So he's saying, oh, well, in this sense, he literally says, in this sense, there does exist an ether. And I've pointed out they've heard the explanation and he's chosen to double down because of pride and ego and intentionally misrepresent and lie what's actually being said. Right. So
that's what he did.
Yeah.
And like I said, he didn't say what you did. Let's go through this. There's a little Jedi mind trick in here that I want to point out. I pointed it out a few shows ago on Nathan's show to one of those ether believers, and I think he dropped after it. So
you probably muted
Einstein,
and kicked him.
1920, from his own hand. We may say that according to the general theory of relativity, space is not must have. He didn't say must have. Is.
Okay, same thing. Like I said must have, and he says is endowed with physical properties. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, bro. Literally. Think about how dishonest all this is.
Endowed with physical qualities. Notice I colored that different for emphasis. So your ships come in. There, shits it. He's endowing space with physical qualities.
Yeah. And space is just a concept of emptiness that we just apply dimensions to, Cartesian coordinate systems to try to quantify things, volume, right? So linked with breadth. So it's just the idea of emptiness, nothingness, like mass is within space that's empty and nothingness. Now the ether does not propose that. It has substantive qualities. It's a medium. So that's why it has physical qualities. But he has to invoke physical qualities without the substantive nature of a medium because it debunked that the Earth is moving. Think about how bad this is.
In the sense, therefore, there exists an ether. Then he can.
Now he breezes past in this sense because he says, in this sense, therefore, there exists an ether. In this sense. That's what he's saying. In this sense alone. Okay. And so this is just another example of being a liar.
Qualities, there exists an ether. So yeah, I guess you're right. He is talking about two different ethers.
Yeah. Literally, he says in this sense for a reason. And everyone knows it. And that's why I quoted him saying, if Michelson-Morley had not brought us into serious embarrassment, no one would have even considered relativity as a halfway redemption. I can also show you Nikola Tesla saying, let's actually go like, look, watch, unless he deleted it, we can go right down here. We can go right down here and we can show one of the comments. So he deleted it. He literally deleted it, bro. No way. Hank quoted Tesla saying that Einstein replaced the ether. and he deleted it. Unless it's still there and it's just not showing up for whatever reason. Okay, here it is. Here it is. So it says, they say much about... Which it does still have. Okay, so here's the quote. It's very interesting, right? So it says, they say much about Einstein's theory. Now, according to Einstein, the ether does not exist, and many people agree with him. But it is a mistake, in my opinion. Ether's opponents referred to the experiments of Michelson-Morley, who made attempts to detect the Earth's movement relative to the fixed bed ether. These experiments failed, however. It didn't mean the ether's non-existence. I always based as fact the existence of mechanical ether in my works, and therefore I could achieve positive success. Nikola Tesla. And of course, Einstein himself admits it, that he replaced it. He replaced the ether that was there. And he's saying that just in this sense, wow, did it go all the way back? He's saying that just in this sense, there exists an ether. I don't think I can. This is so much longer, apparently. No, we're getting pretty close. Okay, we've done a lot. There we go. So
I heard a lot of silence when we went over this the other day. When I tried to point this out. Now, there wasn't science beforehand because you remember the train wreck that went beforehand. But after I said it, there was a lot of silence out there.
Dude, do you guys see how wrong he is? Does no one see it? QE is giving us direct realist a bad name. Because if you have to lie, then that means your argument's logically bankrupt. So, and no one can respond to just that quote from Tesla. But no, FED knows more about electricity than Nikola Tesla, and they can call him stupid. But they can't define electricity or magnetism, but they know more about both of them than him. Anyway, so this is just, now what it says is okay, so it says, in this sense, therefore, there exists an ether. According to the general theory of relativity, space without ether is unthinkable, for in such, I don't know what this would say. But anyway, there would not only be no propagation of light, but also no possibility of existence for standards of space and time, measuring rods and clocks, nor therefore any space-time intervals in the physical sense. But this ether may not be thought of as endowed with the quality characteristics of ponderable media, as consisting of parts which may be tracked through time. The idea of motion may not be applied to it. And so he then points out, like, this is a contradiction where he says endowed with physical qualities, then it says endowed with the quality characteristics of ponderable media, which is a contradiction. And that's why Tesla and everyone else, like Tesla said, this is the stupidest theory ever. It's ridiculous, right? Because it doesn't make any sense. You're saying space, which isn't ponderable media, it doesn't have physical quality characteristics of ponderable media or a medium, but it has physical qualities. Even though it's just a concept, because he attributed physical properties to a conceptual abstraction called space, which is the privation of anything, the absence of anything, nothing, emptiness. So that can't have physical properties. It's a concept of nothing. A shadow is not something in and of itself. It's the absence of light, right? You have to have light to have a shadow. So it can't have physical properties. It's just based on the light and whatever's obstructing the light. So that's the entire point. And quote unquote obstructing. Like obstructing the disturbance that is light. But anyway, let me guess, that's just words up. So do you see how insane this is? Does anyone not see how incredibly wrong they are? Why don't you distinguish between Oakley and QE? Because they're both guilty and both wrong and both chanted on it. And the entire FED panel chanted on this the entire time for like 2 hours after the presentation. That's probably why. Why don't you stop running around to every chat and just trying to start talking trash to everyone? Why don't you try and be an adult? So anyway, yeah, so and then it's as consisting of parts. So the whole point here, sorry, I'm not showing. The whole part is very simple. Like he's saying that you can't think of it as a medium and that you can track through time, and you can't have the idea of motion applied to it. And the reason is because if that was the case, which is what the ether was considered, which is the ether we're talking about, like the actual ether, right? The actual postulation of an ether, then it debunks that the Earth is revolving around the sun. It can't be orbiting around the sun if there's a medium, because Michelson-Morley showed that it's not. But then you use the same type of method with Michelson-Gell-Pearson, and it predicts the sidereal rotation within 98% accuracy. You see what I'm saying? So it's crazy, bro. It's just crazy. He's just objectively so wrong and dishonest. And I don't know about this one. You know the quote again: "Do not attribute malice to that which can be adequately explained by incompetence." You know, QE is awesome because half of his references are from 50 years ago, and I have to Google what he said. Oh, okay. Well, I saw you amping up how awesome it was. Maybe you need to really watch this video because he has been thoroughly exposed. He lied every single slide. So anyway, you normally don't have to lie when you're telling the truth. So yeah, again, this is just wrong. I hope you guys understand it. It's not complicated. He had to throw out the electrical field theory ether because it was considered a medium that sustains electromagnetic energy, and that debunked that the Earth was orbiting. So he threw it out and he said, oh, well, but it still has to have some physical property, so we can have measuring rods and clocks, and then we can invoke the idea of time intervals, and then we can have a mechanism, for all this alleged motion of stupid bodies in a stupid vacuum. So he still needed physical qualities, physical properties of bending and warping and dilating. So he said, in this sense, there exists an ether, as in this sense, it's like the ether that also had physical qualities, but it can't be thought of as like a medium with physical qualities, because he did contradict himself, because the theory of relativity is stupid. It's a reification fallacy that misplaces concreteness into a concept. Okay, so let's move on.
Amen.
Taking a victory lap right here. Now here we go again. So I said ether is immaterial. It cannot be science. So then he shows Bob saying FED is incapable of understanding the science behind ether, which this video has actually thoroughly demonstrated the accuracy of what Bob is saying. And so again, I explained that, well, you can, Bob could just be saying it in the sense that there's tons of scientific evidence on the Earth that we can manipulate and vary, which goes to support the idea or the framework of there being an ether. Not that you can scientifically manipulate and vary the ether itself and grab it and bottle it up and tangibly move it. So it is an unproved theory. That's not the point. The point is that it's the only logically viable framework. So quantum mechanics and physical particles, particle physics, is an unproved theory. So thank you for the super chat, Isabella. Listen carefully. Particle physics is an unproved theory as well. The difference is that particle physics makes predictions that have been debunked and can't explain magnetism. But ether, the framework of ether, does explain light being instant and instantaneous action at a distance, and electromagnetism and magnetism and electricity and electrostatics. Do you understand? You don't understand. You just chant scripts. And like I said, go hang out with them. Not a single shred of evidence. Is there a single shred of evidence for particle physics being true? Can you answer that question? Hey, is there a single shred of evidence for a physical photon or a physical particle of matter called the electron? So no one can ever answer it. So let's just move on. So he's saying that there's no, I was explaining the difference. So they're just running with the chant saying we're contradicting ourselves because they're not actually allowing the context to be known.
FED is incapable of understanding the science behind the ether.
Yeah, and you've proven yourself clearly incapable of understanding the conversation in entirety. So again, he had a straw man Bob, right? Now, we use the word science. He uses the word science a little more loosely, but the word science means to know. That's the etymology. So there's natural science, and then there's just all kinds of other different things that can be called science. And they pretend the only type of science is natural science. So actually, they're wrong about that as well. But see, it's like these people are incapable of actually thinking. Like space without the ether is unthinkable. It's a non-argument to me because the baller space definition to me is unthinkable, and anything that's in it. Okay, yeah, fair enough. You see what the problem is, though, John, is that he's trying to say that it's the same ether that we're talking about, which is a lie, which is called a straw man fallacy. You understand? You may not be convinced about the medium of light, Drace, but that's not even the point. The point is that they're lying, and my point is that the way I see it as being an intellectual person is that there's two primary postulations or frameworks to try to interpret things, okay? And particle physics has been debunked. Magnetism debunks it. In 2022, there's not an Ivy League school in the world, which he's arguing from the mainstream academic position of particle physics and quantum mechanics. Really soak that in. And light has to be, now he's also arguing for the quantum definition of light, which was proposed by Einstein, really soaked that in. And then that he claimed it had a constant speed of light within his definition of the quantum definition of light from Einstein, because it has to be constant so they can have the theory of relativity to explain Μ-Morley away, explain the evidence that showed the earth wasn't moving. The fact we have flat earthers arguing against Μ-Morley is one of the craziest things I've ever heard. I'm the problem. I've said this before. Okay, go live and get out of here. No one cares. Anyway, I'm just going to ignore that guy. That guy's a loser. Okay, so here we go. So we pointed this out here. This is insane, right? So now we're going to go back to what he's saying now. Let's hear what he's got to say now.
Just let them speak. That's all.
I said we have an electromagnetic field in the earth, so he just wants to highlight that because I was trying to say on the earth. For example, it's the most prominent, strongest force on the earth. So he's saying, oh, look, Austin's wrong. He said in and on. Oh, good argument. Good argument. So, yeah. So technically speaking, right, like there is electricity on the earth. There is a current. It's just like seemingly very, very weak. So, but either way, yeah, we have a magnetic field in the earth. We have electromagnetic field in the earth because there is a current. There is a current. So you're just wrong again. This critique is wrong again. But again, the reason that this is again a lie and dishonest is because, like we pointed out earlier, when he brings up the magnetic thing, he says this idiot doesn't understand the difference in electromagnetism and magnetism, when he literally doesn't know how to define magnetism. And then quantum mechanics, which he claims is the most scientifically experimentally valid field that exists, claims that it's literally the exchange of virtual photons. So he's telling me I can't understand the difference in magnetism, electromagnetism, but he can't define it. Wow.
All you need do, they do your work for you. That's what's
move on.
He doesn't understand the difference between electromagnetic and magnetic.
He's saying it again, and they literally are all scared to even utter a definition for magnetism. They can't even define it. How can you tell me I'm misdefining something? And this is also why I know QE is a liar. He is a liar and a loser. Obviously, like this dude, that anyone that gets on the internet and just screams and berates like 20-year-old girls on Discord, like, is a loser, right? Where I for example, and I don't want to get too personal, but I'll say this. I was trying to wake up this girl. She's in college. I was like changing her life, dude. I was meeting her halfway. I was telling her why it matters. I was really waking her up, dude. She came so far. She started being like, whoa, this is crazy. You could tell she was starting to wake up, and she just had genuine questions because she didn't know anything yet. I was like changing this girl's life, like this 20-year-old college student on Discord. Then QE jumps in and starts berating her, screaming at her, and ruined everything I did. Okay. And that's my point, is like, do you want to wake people up or do you not? And anyway, again, this all comes down to this fundamental idea. This is how I know QE's being dishonest here. QE was in the Skype with me when this all first started, and in Skype messages, and asked me what's the difference in magnetism and electromagnetism. I said, well, that's a more nuanced question than you may think, because I disagree with the mainstream definition of them. So he knows that I'm not using it that way, and I've explained exactly what I say it is, right? That electricity is the magnetic and the dielectric coherent hybrid of the two, and they're different modalities of the same thing. So it's just sad. It's just sad. Anyway.
Magnetic. But this is your house. You're clueless. Somebody explain this to me. I'm not getting it.
We know you don't get it. That's our point. So this is, again, just another lie. I can't really listen to it anymore, but this is him lying. I'll read it so you guys don't think I'm trying to straw man. I don't straw man people. The key difference between the two is that magnetism refers to the phenomena associated with magnetic fields or magnetic forces, whereas the term electromagnetism is the type of magnetism produced by the electric current and is associated with both magnetic fields and electric fields. The ability of certain objects to attract towards matter is called magnetism, whereas electromagnetism is a phenomena concerned with electromagnetic forces. That's your definition of magnetism, is that it's the ability to attract towards other things. So does electrostatics. That's not a definition of what it is. That's what it can do. Can you define human? Humans can breathe oxygen. Okay, what is a human though? So insane. This is what's so funny. They're arguing on the same side as Professor Phil, a globe zealot, anti-flat earther that's in the chat, who says photons do not have mass, electrons do. They agree with you. They agree with him. And then the truth is, Phil can't answer this. Oh yeah, did you actually? How do you determine the mass of an electron? Can you actually show me how you independently verify the material nature of an electron, or do you just get the charge and then put it into your reified presupposed charge to mass ratio convention and then come up with a mass based on its charge, presupposing that it's matter? You know, they're defending the same size as the globers. Crazy. All right. Anyway, so this again, he's just critiquing everyone, saying that we're stupid because we don't know the difference in electromagnetism and magnetism, when we clearly do. We understand the phenomena very much better. We understand all kinds of intricate aspects of it. And he doesn't know how to define magnetism and won't even dare utter the word. And every time you say, what is magnetism? He'll say, are we talking about magnetism or the ether? Yet in his entire presentation where he's addressing the ether, he's brought up magnetism 3 times because he knows it's intrinsically tied to the conversation. This is, again, them being just blatantly dishonest because they can't answer questions, but they want to find a way to act like they're winning the conversation. I said, if the Earth has an electromagnetic field, where's the never-ending perpetual electric current coming from? Well, there is electric current. We have electric voltage going up 100 volts per meter up from the Earth. So you can use a corona motor, right? And you can have a downward current running the motor through the sky. And then the Earth itself does seem to have some type of electrical nature to it. And we can't get way up inside of it. So anyway, we have a magnetic field on the Earth. And, you know, understanding the actual application of the word electromagnetic without the mainstream academic BS, then you can actually say electromagnetic field in the Earth. So anyway, there you go. This is him just saying this again and again. His whole argument is that we don't know the difference in the two, and he literally can't even define. He can't even define magnetism. Think about how dishonest this is. The whole thing is just lies. So I think we should move on from this. So it's the strongest, most prominent force, yeah? Tesla is a unit of magnetic field. Another unit of magnetic field is Gauss. A refrigerator magnet is 100 Gauss. A refrigerator magnet, the typical strength of Earth's magnetic field at its surface is around a half a Gauss, I'm guessing. So those are everyday units of magnetic fields. There are 10,000 Gauss in 1 Tesla. So now there is a current. So now the surface does have some type of electricity. Oh my goodness. But so yeah, again, yeah, it's very weak. Electrostatic is very weak. There's a surface charge, negative charge. We live within a giant battery, effectively. So you don't know anything about what you're talking about. The fact that he's even starting to pretend that he can talk about magnetism is hilarious because he can't define it. If you ask him to define it, he can't. And if you go actually look at the definition of quantum mechanics, again, it says the exchange of virtual photons. So they'll never answer it. That's how you know they're liars. They, you know, oh, you can't talk about it. You're wrong about it, but we can't define it and we don't know. But we're not talking about it, but we're talking about it. Okay. There's a fundamental antecedent consequent relationship that has to be addressed. We have never touched the container. I can't bottle the container up. Show me the container. To have electromagnetism or anything that propagates, something has to sustain the energy. A wave is, what is that? I don't know. A wave is something through a medium, which is just a type of movement in the medium. Okay, so this is a quote from me. He said, another train wreck, false analogy, juxtaposition. Just because we can't show you the container due to distance and our inability to get there doesn't render null the fact that you must have a container to have gas pressure. Never said it did. That's a straw man fallacy. I never said that it does render it null. Okay, so 10 days ago, you conjure electromagnetism, light waves, propagating through a medium. Now show the electromagnetism moving through a substanceless medium to demonstrate the antecedent consequent relationship. And he's saying that you can't have a word medium that doesn't have substance because it's a contradiction. That's just a semantical diversion when actually, yeah, it acts as a medium. That's why I put that in my presentation, acts as a medium. So again, this is another lie. Okay, let me explain why this is a lie. No big deal. Super easy to explain all this. I guess I'll let you guys still see it. Okay, so what I was actually doing with the gas pressure, this is what started it all too. Oakley made a YouTube short saying gas pressure versus ether, and they've been lying since the beginning. Okay, and so now I brought this up to say, look, you can't prove everything with science, and we can use observations and logic to know things, and we can present them as definitive facts, right? Based on logical antecedent relationship. We don't have to actually be able to go physically manipulate it to prove it. And I gave an example of the container. I'm like, well, we know the necessary antecedent to gas pressure as containment. So we know there's a container on the Earth. Now we can't go there. We can't physically manipulate it. We can't do anything like that, but we know it's there based on a antecedent relationship. That's in logical argument. We're making a logical argument, right? So we're saying that logically speaking, then it's a logical axiom that there must exist some type of containment on the Earth because we have gas pressure. right? And so when I even said this, they're taking it all out of context because they're just ridiculous. I said, you know how like when Globers say, what's the container made of? Can you bottle it up? Like, oh, how big is it? How wide is it? Where's it at? Like, what exactly is it comprised of? Like they make all the, like, we don't have to answer any of those questions. We're just saying we know something has to physically contain the gas pressure on the earth. It's a logical argument, even though we can't go physically manipulate it. So when you say, can you bottle the ether up? Can you show it to me? It's very similar because that doesn't matter. That doesn't automatically mean it's not true. So I'm pointing out the hypocrisy and then how like you guys have no problem talking about the container, but you can't bottle it up. But you're saying if I can't bottle the ether up and physically manipulate it, then it can't be true. Now, there is a slight nuance, which I address, which is, well, you can physically manipulate a container and gas pressure. But nevertheless, my point is that sometimes you can present logical axioms like a true dichotomy, which is, well, what sustains the energy? Either something or nothing, or like what's the medium for propagation? Something or nothing, right? And again, not propagation in the literal application, which is that it travels from point A to point B. It's just how we quantify the disturbance that is inside of the medium, the background medium. So this is another lie. This is another lie where he's saying, he literally just blatantly lied and said, just because we can't show you the container due to distance and our inability to get there doesn't render null the fact that you must have a container to have gas pressure. I never said it rendered it null. It's a blatant straw man lie. I traveled the whole United States saying this very thing. I've been saying it for years. So that he had to blatantly lie about my position again. This is, do you guys not see how bad this is? Everything he says is a lie. Okay, anyway, he said, moreover, it was then explained to Whitsitt that we can physically show gas pressure, increasing entropy and leaving the container, demonstrating the necessary antecedent consequent gas pressure relationship. And that I responded, we can show electromagnetism, which is my point. We can show that we have magnetism, right? And in all other scenarios, for there to be a waving movement, you have to have a medium because waves aren't things in and of themselves. So I was explaining that all observable phenomena shows us that waves are obviously not things in themselves. They're a medium moving. It's a type of movement. So, we have electromagnetic energy that moves in a waving fashion, right? So how is it that we have that? Well, like what is waving? What's sustaining it? What's sustaining the movement? It's either something or nothing. You must have something. I'm presenting a logical axiom, and this was in a good faith attempt to show how it's similar, that we just used the logical antecedent relationship of the gas and the container, and then they literally blatantly lied and strawman the entire thing again. And this is like a month afterwards, which goes to show you that they're just intentionally being dishonest, or maybe they don't understand things. I don't know. Okay, and he said, you have to show your necessary antecedent, substanceless medium, not the consequent electromagnetism. Yeah, my point is, like, you can't show the actual container. Yeah, you can show that a container stops it, but you can't show the actual container. I can show that waving like motion requires something sustaining it, right? To sustain energy, like what's sustaining it? If energy cannot be created nor destroyed, where does it come from? That's the first law, which comes before what your entire argument's built upon, which is the second law. Right? So if it can't be created nor destroyed, it can only be transformed or transferred. Where is it coming from? And what is sustaining the energy? Can it be sustained within itself? Or is it sustained within something? So can it be sustained within something or nothing else is there? Do you need a medium, or can you have no medium? Can you have wave-like motion in a medium, or can you have it with no medium? That's my entire argument. Is that we can't physically reach out and manipulate and grab the ether, but it's just like we can't physically go and grab the container and show what it is or show that it's there, right? So he's literally, think about this. Like in his argument, he says right here, he puts in parentheses, it says, due to distance and our inability to get there. Okay, yeah, our inability to get to where we can physically manipulate the ether and bottle it up, because it's not something like that. It's exactly the same. And I was bringing it up in good faith to show the logical correlation, that sometimes you can present logical axioms and it can still be true. It was a good faith attempt to obviously talk to people that operate in bad faith. So you live and learn, right? And now his whole argument again is substanceless medium. That is, you can't use the word medium because it's defined by materialists like Richard Feynman to say that it has to be comprised of a substance. It's like, oh, are we using Richard Feynman quotes now? Then let's use what he says magnetism is, which is the exchange of virtual photons, but that can never be explained. And then I can show a 6-minute video of Richard Feynman being asked about magnetism, and he just starts freaking out and talking about an ice skater on the ice and can't answer anything. He also says anyone that claims to understand quantum mechanics is either lying or stupid. I don't appeal to authority, and that's what he did. He appeals to like mainstream authorities defining medium, and that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. So it acts as a medium to sustain it. It's very simple. It's an intentional misrepresentation, so you don't have to address the actual substance of the argument, which is like, what's the medium sustaining the wave-like motion or the quote-unquote propagation? Like, what is it that is sustaining the energy? They'll never answer it, so they have to find a way to strawman and lie. This is another lie. Okay, so moving on. They're all lies. Have we found one slide that isn't a lie? Okay, so here he quoted me. Light is just a disturbance in the medium that's already there, but not a material medium. That's just semantics. He said a medium is defined as having substance or matter. Immaterial medium is a married bachelor. Contradiction in terms. So he's still saying the same stupid argument. Like, oh, so we define medium. So that's why I even said acts as a medium, right? But it's not a material medium. That's right. I'm saying it's not a material medium. It's not a substantive medium, right? But it acts as a medium. It sustains it. It holds it. It carries it. It is what is it's what it's in. It's within that. You understand? Like, this is crazy. And then he says, semantics. Yes, all successful communication is founded upon semantics, defining terms, the Socratic method. Yeah, but the Socratic method is an attempt to actually understand what both people are saying so you can actually get to the substance and merit of the argument so you can then debate. Ironically, the Socratic method just completely destroys everything you've done for the last 3 hours and shows that you're a liar, because the Socratic method is literally about having an honest intention and good faith to fully understand both sides to have the conversation. Okay? I know this may be getting kind of old at this point, so we're almost done. So he's saying, again, the same argument that you can't have a material medium. I said acts as a medium, if that makes you feel better. It's a semantical diversion. I'm saying, no, we're saying acts as a medium. There's something that's sustaining all of it, and we know there's something outside the material world, so it's not even a stretch, logically. You don't have to go physically bottle it up to know that something has to be there. So, anyway, every single slide is dishonest. I said the wave light is the medium. Now one entity, light, is now the medium. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. Like, light itself is the medium being excited. That's what I think. That's my opinion. That's right. That it is the background medium being excited and becoming visible, perceivable, illuminated.
To essentially being one and the same thing.
Exactly.
Oh, now he's saying they're one and the same thing. Yeah, they are. I'm just saying, like, what is it that light isn't a physical entity in and of itself? That's a reification fallacy. We just see things illuminate, right? And we need matter to see it. The question is, like, what is it that's causing that illumination? Like, what is illuminating itself? Like, what is it? It has to be something. It can't be nothing. So you claim it's a physical photon, which is pseudoscience and has been debunked in many ways. It's nothing. So no, I'm not contradicting myself. I'm saying that light itself is the medium. It's the medium illuminating. It's what's already there. That's right.
It's called double speaking. Numpty dipshittery.
There you go. What a great argument. So again, strawman the actual position and lie. Magnetism exists without electric current. So I said magnetism is the dependent variable, electrical current is the independent variable, because they asked for science. I was defending Bob, where he said there's a whole bunch of science that supports the framework of interpretation that is the ether, and that's what he's trying to say. There's a bunch of things that we can scientifically verify in the actual world, and it supports the idea of the ether, right? There being a background medium that sustains all things. And they're like, what's the science then? What's the science? I'm like, okay. Like, so now good faith is, Austin just said you can't science the ether itself. He said it's immaterial. It's not quantifiable. You can't physically grab it and manipulate it or vary it as an independent variable, right? There's just a bunch of science in the world that we can do that supports that framework, because there are no other adequate explanations, like quantum claiming magnetism is virtual photons. So I went to magnetism. I said, okay, our dependent variable is magnetism. Okay. And then I said the independent variable is electric current. He said, really? Oh, no, you don't know what magnetism or electromagnetism is. Now, he literally can't define magnetism. Remember this. This is the most dishonest person in the flat earth community. And Oakley's a close second. There's no way around it. You should have said electromagnetism is the DV. Now, this is where you're just wrong again. Again, if you take a neodymium iron boron piece of metal before you make it a magnet, you introduce electrical current, it makes it a magnet. Once you turn the electrical current off, it doesn't stop being a magnet. That's how you make it a magnet. It stays a magnet. So he's objectively wrong, saying you have to keep having current or it won't be a magnet. That's not true. The neodymium iron boron becomes a magnet, and you can make it a magnet using electrical voltage to align it. Then it becomes coherent and it will sustain magnetism. Okay? So that is what's actually being stated, and he's just wrong about that. Is it has no quantitative difference, like the metal's the same size and everything, right? Nothing changes quantitatively. It's a qualitative change, which is the coherency of the metal that the electrical current aligns. So he's wrong again. So, and now the truth is, what they're doing is, I wasn't allowed to talk during this moment. Just to say magnetism and then the IV of electricity, electrical current, took me forever, and they kept interrupting me. It would never let me explain myself, never let me talk. Fundy muted me and then started screaming about Bob, and then just went on and on and on, and then saying I was wrong but never let me talk. Then he took the couple quotes I did get out, the couple words I got out, which I got cut off in the middle of, and then put them here, and then was still wrong about it. This is again, he's actually just incompetent in this situation. So it's a double-edged sword where, again, you can't attribute malice to that which can be adequately explained with incompetence. This is incompetence, where he doesn't know you can make a magnet with electrical current and then remove the electrical current and it's still a magnet. But it's also malice. It's also dishonest, where he knows that I was being treated unfairly, not being allowed to talk, not letting me be able to actually make my position. And he takes the quotes out to try to make me look stupid. So, and then they misrepresent it, saying that I was saying you can science the ether itself, which is blatantly a lie when I specifically said the opposite. So this is all straw mans and more lies. So that was another lie. Every slide has been a lie. Ether is a proposed logical framework of an energetic background that sustains electromagnetism. Then they all jump in and they just say I'm so stupid because I'm claiming that logical frameworks have physical properties, which is not what I'm saying. It's again an intentional misrepresentation, because what I'm actually saying is that, well, ether is just a logical framework that's been proposed. Okay, like as in it's a physical, it's a philosophical framework, right? And what's being proposed is that there is an energetic background behind us, right? And people call it the ether. So I'm making an honest, good faith representation of that. Well, I'm not claiming it's scientifically verifiable that you can grab it and manipulate it, because you can't. So technically it would be like a philosophical interpretation that there's an immaterial interaction with the material world, and that explains energy and stuff like that, right? So I'm not the one insulting you guys, although I don't know who you are. I'm guessing you're just not paying attention and you're still just like pretending that QE destroyed me or something. Who cares? I don't care about like zealots. You're worse than anti-flat earthers, I swear. So he said, yes, and Penelope Pitstop is Bruce Lee's father. Again, just a bunch of boomer references. Sorry, don't get it. There's no logic or coherent framework for ether. Even if you had a logical framework, they don't contain energy. So he's trying to say that I'm like reifying a framework as if it is physical, and I'm not. I'm explaining that it's just a logical framework of interpretation, right? As in to address the whole, can you scientifically prove it? I'm like, well, it's a logical framework of interpretation. And that interpretation states that there's a background medium that sustains energy. So this is another blatant straw man, a misrepresentation, also known as a lie. So they can't argue my actual argument, so they have to lie. So this was another lie. We haven't found one slide that wasn't a lie yet. This is the first time I'm seeing a lot of it. I just know that they lie. They can't tell the truth. They can't argue the actual point. I found that out very quickly. That's why they'll never go on modern day debate and debate fairly. That's why Brian's the only one that would come and to try to debate fairly on my channel. And he obviously lost. Oh, it's not win or lose. Okay, well, his point was shown invalid and bankrupt. He was incorrect on many subjects when he was making claims. This is where he says I'm stupid because I said the orbital electron, which is just the way that it's described. You know, like now he's saying that back in the day they said that there was no orbit. So they're basically like they changed that there's not an orbit. So reifying the electron the whole time. Electrons don't have orbits. Why are you claiming? Why are you making claims about the electron when you can't prove it's a physical particle of matter? You're just reifying it. You're basically reifying it and then telling me I'm incorrect about your reification fallacy. And I just used it to explain to the audience because that's how they define it. That's how they try to explain to people in layman terms. It doesn't matter if it has a literal physical orbit where it's moving around. It does not matter. It used to, and they've changed it. But nevertheless, I'm just explaining that they claim that the electron like moves around in this density cloud, Okay. And so that you can call that an orbit for intents and purposes so people can understand what's being said. That's why they still have it in some high school and college textbooks just to explain it on a rudimentary level, because there's not literally an orbit. That model was thrown out in 25. No one cares. That's all non sequitur. You're not the actual point is that when this got brought up, the point was that they claim a physical photon hits an atom and then dislodges an orbital electron. See, so here he goes. Just like with chemistry, they apply atomism. Okay, there's an orbital electron, blah, 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 blah. So, and I might have said blah, 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 like, because I had already given the context of what I'm saying. So he just wants to call me stupid by saying orbital electron, when the truth is that it's just a semantical diversion. Once again, when I'm just using like like if you look it up, it'll say this in many textbooks just as a way to understand what's going on. And I explain in my presentation what technically is the claim, which is that it's a density cloud. It's a cloud of probability distribution of negative charge, a negative charge cloud, basically. Right. And so that was the whole point. But he had to straw man me and pretend I just don't understand it when I laid it out in my presentation, but he can't rebut the actual presentation. So he has to straw man it, also known as being a liar. So electrons are said to occupy orbitals in an atom. The term orbital is somewhat erroneous, as electrons do not orbit around nucleus. These orbitals also do not really exist. Okay, yeah, but he just like this person saying like it's used a lot of time, but it's somewhat erroneous. But it's actually just talking about now they don't know any of it. This is all reification fallacy. The electron model constantly changes and updates. It's still changing to this day. It still has tons of problems. And this just goes to make my point. You're making definitive claims about now he's appealing to the mainstream. It was proven that that's not the case in 1925. The electron itself was never proven. It was never proven to be a physical particle of matter. You're just basically asserting it with a reification fallacy. It's terrible. And then this is, again, just a straw man because I explained in context what exactly they claim about the electron. So this was another straw man to try to make me look stupid. Okay, then he brings up Tesla saying that this whole idea is stupid. Okay, here, this is hilarious. So he says, at least Tesla knew what an electron was. Particles of primary matter. Wait. Where does he read it?
Describes these things as...
Oh, okay, anyway. So here, this is the quote from Nikola Tesla. Before the electron theory was advanced, I had established that radioactive rays consisted of particles of primary matter, not further decomposable. The first thing to find out was whether the sun is charged to a sufficiently high potential to produce the effects noted. And so he's like, oh, you're God, is what he said, that Tesla at least he knew what the electron was. Particles of primary matter. And so he's like, look, Tesla's claiming electrons are particles of matter, when actually Tesla called the ether primary matter, meaning he said that the primary state of matter was ether, and that the secondary state of matter is what we call matter. The luminiferous ether was the primary substance, the primary state of matter, and that there was something called the prana, the creative force that moves within that makes things physically manifest. So he blatantly doesn't understand this. So he's not even he just doesn't understand this at all. He saw the word particle and matter and thinks he knows what he's talking about, and he literally doesn't. Like, here, I'll show it to you guys. We're about to wrap this up. I think that if you don't see that he clearly just lied about everything, I don't even know what to say at this point. All right, let's look it up. And then Adam actually knows this, and I've talked to him about it in depth, and he didn't even correct him. He jumped in supporting it. So right here, he says, all perceptible matter, meaning what we call matter, all perceivable matter, comes from a primary substance or tenuity beyond conception, filling all space, the akasha, or a luminiferous ether, which is acted upon by a life-giving prana or creative force, calling into existence and never-ending cycles all things and phenomena. He literally explains right here that all the perceivable matter comes from the primary substance or the primary matter. And he explains it in numerous other writings. So he had to intentionally misrepresent what's being said and then claim, oh, he brings up Tesla, but at least Tesla actually knew what the electron was. And I actually put the quotes about what he said about the electron in my presentation. This again goes to show intentional deception, intentionally misrepresenting the position, intentionally being dishonest. Why would you have to do that if I'm so stupid? It doesn't make any sense. All right. I think we're pretty much through it. This was exhausting, honestly. I mean, if you guys don't see how every single thing he said was a lie, or you want to keep believing it, like I don't care. So, and then he said the idea of the atom being formed of electrons and protons, which go whirling around like miniature sun and planets, is an invention of the imagination. It has no relation to the real nature of matter. And he's trying to say, he was trying to say that basically he's stupid, and but he's going to give him a pass because this was a few years after they threw out the orbit model. It's just a model, by the way. It's not real, kind of like the globe Earth. But he's not just saying that just because they say it goes around it. He's saying that the whole thing of the atom being comprised of electrons and protons, he said this is not real. It's just an figment of the imagination. So it's just crazy. It's all crazy. It's a bunch of incompetence and dishonesty combined. So I think you guys get it. I think this is pretty much it. All of his critiques fell flat on their face whenever actually given context, and he lied about all of them. I'm not sure how you guys don't see that. I think we're good. Now he's saying, okay, the wave or light is the medium. Now, again, I don't claim that light is a wave. It's just a type of movement. I say it is the medium. A wave is not what something is. It's what a medium does. Therefore, electromagnetic waves, being waves, must be the medium. What's the ether? It's a non-manifest medium somewhere else. Moreover, don't electromagnetic waves manifest? Isn't electromagnetic waves? Oh, he said, moreover, don't electromagnetic waves manifest? Bob, I thought he said electromagnetic waves didn't exist. What a clown. Electromagnetic waves don't exist. But then he said, moreover, don't electromagnetic waves manifest? Isn't electromagnetic waves a description of what something is? You said it wasn't what something is, that they didn't exist. You said electromagnetic waves don't exist, bro. Oh my gosh. Can we screenshot that or something? Like, what a joke. I mean, I'm guessing he would never take this down, but obviously I won't be going any more in depth with, I'm not going to make a video about him or something. Like, he probably likes that I'm doing this. Okay, I think we're pretty much wrapping this up, but he said electromagnetic waves don't exist. Now he's critiquing my claim by saying electromagnetic waves manifest. Isn't electromagnetic waves a description of what something is? But haven't we already established something? A wave is not what something is. So he's acting like he's getting me here. He's just not understanding anything. He's, first of all, he's trying to say like non-manifest medium is a contradiction, which it's not, just because you don't know how to understand things. And I don't claim that light is a wave. It's not. I claim that waves aren't what something does. It's what something, or not what something is. It's what something does. So there must be a medium waving. It's the only way that you could get that effect. So electromagnetic waves must be sustained within something. It cannot be sustained within nothing. For one, nothing cannot exist. And if you have a medium or no medium, how are you going to have something propagate or vibrate, oscillate, reverberate, which are all just mathematical conventions and descriptions of movement? How could you have any type of movement not from travel from point A to point B? Like, you see how tedious I have to be to capitulate to their like very low remedial level. Like, I have to say so much. I talk for people that have good faith and are intellectuals. I'm not capitulating to like the stupidest like paradigm ever. So anyway, so yeah, moving not as in traveling from point A to point B, but anyway, that's just a conceptual convention to describe the movement or the medium, right, that is being disturbed. And so yeah, it has to be disturbed. So like in order for you to have any type of waving movement at all, you have to have a medium to be waving. A wave isn't a thing in itself. I can wave my hand, not hand a wave. So we've discussed it many times. This is, again, another misrepresentation. Well, actually, this is just basically incompetence. He doesn't understand basic things. So he was objectively wrong there. I don't know if anyone could see that. He's done nothing but lie and get stuff wrong the whole time. This convoluted gaggle, contradictory, whatever, more insults. Is light the non-manifested medium in a dark vacuum? There's a non-visible spectrum of light. So you're claiming visible light is carried through a medium of ultraviolet rays, X-rays, gamma rays. So what medium carries X-rays? Visible light? So you see how he just doesn't understand any of it? So you're claiming, no, I'm not. That's called a straw man fallacy. That's another lie. What's it? Crush on the 9 o'clock debate, brother. Seek and speak truth. Yeah, will do. Much love, bro. So again, what's actually going on here? My goodness, this is just so exhausting. I'm about to wrap it up. Trick question. Name one place in the universe where an electromagnetic field is not present. If you can, then you just found a perfect vacuum. Well done. How many radio waves are hitting you per second? Wow. who's with it debating later. Infinity to split to 56, I think is his name. Nick. So that's about, did the Messiah already come back in 70 AD and have the millennial reign? It's on Vader Bear's channel, which hopefully I have. I don't know. I don't have it copied. Anyway, so what I'm actually claiming is, like, first of all, visible light's just a small spectrum of what we see, which everyone knows that. So basically it's just vibration. It's a huge spectrum of vibration or oscillation of the medium that's already there. And we can perceive a certain spectrum of vibration. It's well known we only see a very small spectrum of light. So he's like, is carried through a medium? No, it's not carried through a medium. That's a straw man fallacy. Again, that's a lie, which you're doing on purpose. The medium's already there. It's just being disturbed. And so then he's saying a medium of ultraviolet, right? No, this is just a gigantic spectrum of vibration of the medium that's already there that manifests different ways. So you don't understand anything. And so there's a non-visible spectrum of light. He's again being dishonest, because during the actual context, what actually happened was, I was like, I'm like, light's already there. It's not traveling anywhere. And Oakley's like, so when I turn the lighthouse on, you're saying that da da da. I'm like, so you're claiming light travels. Then I'm not claiming anything. I'm like, you literally are. I'm saying light doesn't travel. It's already there. You're saying, oh, you're telling me that a lighthouse, when I see the lighthouse isn't traveling. I'm like, so you're claiming the light's traveling. I'm not claiming anything about light traveling. It's so dishonest. It's like insane that people are supporting this. I think they're being, talk about being Jedi mind tricked, right? And so anyway, then I'm trying to say, yeah, he's like, so what happens whenever I turn the light on in a dark room? I'm like, the light was already there. And then I said, wait, you think that there wasn't light already there before you turned on the light in your room? And then they all ridiculed me, made fun of me, insulted me. And they're like, oh, I have to defend that when it's dark, there's no light. The definition of dark and light. They're all ridiculing me, calling me stupid. I keep going in to start to say, you know, that there's cut off 4 times, all ridiculing me, just talking about how stupid I am, all jumping in, laughing, making fun of me. And then whenever I'm finally allowed to say it, after like 10 minutes of them doing that, I say, you know, there's a non-visible spectrum of light, Oakley. And then he doesn't have any rebuttal, never got a rebuttal, never can say anything. The point is that every square inch of the world has a non-visible spectrum of light. There's light literally everywhere. You can't find anywhere where there's not any electromagnetic radiation. So game over. It's just different modalities of the medium based on the disturbance that's introduced to the background medium. So this is, again, another straw man and a lie. So you're claiming? No, I'm not. That's called a straw man. Okay. I think we pretty much got this out of the way here. We have things that go 3 times the speed of light 1 minute later. There's no such thing as the speed of light. No need for me to address anything here. Psh. So again, this is just another lie, right? Where I'm saying there's no such thing as the speed of light, because if you're defining speed as distance over time, well, light's not physically traveling. It's already there. We have a rate of induction. Rate of speed. No. I'm saying a rate of induction, a rate of perception of illumination of what we call light, but what light actually is just the background medium that's already there. It's not physically traveling from point A to point B. We quantify how quickly we perceive illumination. And so I'm saying now, within this alleged convention of there being a speed of light, right? We have things that go 3 times the speed of light, meaning if you assume that light has a constant speed traveling from point A to point B, we have observations and experiments that show that there are things that go 3 times the alleged speed of light in a vacuum. But he's trying to say that I'm invoking a literal speed from point A to point B, and that I'm now claiming light does have a speed, but then turning around saying there's no such thing as a speed of light. When literally what I'm saying is that their convention is debunked, even assuming that light does physically travel, but it doesn't actually travel. Light's just already there, and we just quantify different rates of perception or illumination based on the excitation or the disturbance. So this is, again, another blatant lie, intentionally misrepresenting it, being a liar. So, wow, every single slide has been a lie. Every single slide. Then I said, you're dictating what other flat earthers are allowed to say. I don't have that capability. I can't control what others say, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. And what he objectively did, and so we'll wrap it up on that. He's saying that no, they did do that. They literally went around saying, I'm taking scalps of anyone that utters the word ether. He went in 24/7 and said that. They're going to all kind of different discords. They said, everyone that says the word ether is an embarrassment to flat earth. We are waging war on anyone that claims that there's an ether or that believes in the ether, and we're taking scalps of any flat earther that dares utter the word. You're an embarrassment. We're going to make sure that you're kicked out from the community. You should not be embraced or accepted. And so, yeah, you're trying to literally dictate what other people are allowed to say. Like, we have to run everything by QE and Oakley and see what we're allowed to say. And so if we go find a citation, well, we have to go see if QE approves of it, because it's only the mainstream citations that QE chooses that are true, as he picks and chooses between the materialistic pseudoscientific nonsense that is the mainstream academia of 2022. So yeah, that's right. I actually pointed out that, it's just insane. It's insane. He said, you can do whatever you wish, but be effing prepared for the consequences. If you're going to come a half a step in and say what you're contradicting, whatever says in my presence, you're going to be systematically eviscerated with the scraps portioned to my wolf pups. We tracking Nancy. Think about how incredibly toxic and lame. And dude, he literally just got exposed. Every single slide he was wrong. Every single slide he lied. Every single slide he misrepresented what I actually said with strawman fallacies. And he then committed blatant reification fallacies in his presentation, just saying, oh, electrons just are. And that if you don't believe in an electron being a physical particle from point A to point B, then you can't use technology. When the truth is that we don't have positive and negative charge. We have charge or discharge, right? The phenomena of what people call the electron is not in dispute. It's what you're claiming that it is. It's actually the gap in a dielectric field. That's why he can't rebut my actual presentation. He said this will be it. He'll never do it again. And that they said this will end the conversation because this was the best that they had. And in my very presentation, I showed that the photoelectric effect, even within quantum mechanics, doesn't actually prove that the photon exists. It could just be the electron field, which is actually just gaps in a dielectric field or electrostatic field. So there you go. I mean, and it's just insane. It's insane because, like, in conclusion, because this is a long stream, like, flat earthers are better than this, man. And like, don't support this. This is the most like toxic that I'm going to get, meaning I had to like go to this low vibration to even address some of this. I feel bad about that, but it is what it is. We're just going to move on. Here, let me go show you guys the link to the debate. So here's the debate I'm doing tonight at 9 o'clock on Vader Bear's channel. So you guys should check it out. It's Circle of the Earth Fellowship. And throw my boy a sub if you don't mind. That would be greatly appreciated. Maybe get up to 1,000. So it should be cool. Hope you guys come enjoy it. Does anyone know where Austin is debating tonight? Yeah, right. What are the odds? Look at the timing. Yeah, on my boy's channel. It's about, did the Messiah already come in 70 AD? Well said, Austin. The future is bright, brother. Thank you, man. Much love, man. No worries, brother. Stay positive. You're well blessed. Thank you for the kind words, Trace. Let me mod you, bro. You're definitely mod worthy. All right. So, thank you guys for kicking it. It's been cool. Yeah. And so I just wanted to address it. Like I said to the other comment, I'm sorry I had to get into this whole vibration, like to even address like the petty nonsense that is all this. I won't be doing it anymore. I know a lot of people come here just to learn and to have thought-provoking things like brought to their attention. They like to build and grow with each other and talk to smart-minded, like smart, open-minded, intellectual people in the chat and like learn from each other, and iron sharpens iron. And that's what we're going to keep doing. We're going to keep elevating. I will be going out of town. Monday, we have to go to New York for a couple days. And then we will be back like mid next week. And then I'll start bringing back the show. And I plan on trying to make some, by then being able to show you all the different type of shows that we have. So should be cool. Should be cool. Thank you guys for kicking it. I guess in conclusion, just before I'm going to say anything, look, like, if they lied about the earth, they always say, well, why would they lie? Well, they hid the creator, right? They hid the, you can't deny the creator anyway, but they made it where people think that they can have some type of logic without acknowledging a creator. And they told you that you're in this tiny speck of dust of ever expanding universe. They, obviously they get lots of money, they get lots of power. And if they made you think you're a tiny speck of dust, well, then you have atheism or nihilism or apathy, which makes you easier to control as a slave state. They're potentially hiding land and resources, what could be more valuable than like controlling people in a little circle like the Hunger Games and having more land where you could have much more advanced technology you kept away from them. And if there is a toroid of energy encompassing us with like a movement, and you could tap into it and have free energy, of course they would hide that from us. That would be one of the primary motivations to lie to us about the earth. Anyone trying to gatekeep a conversation looking into that cannot be trusted. And frankly, I'm not telling you to pick sides, but my honest, good-hearted suggestion is that you should unsub from people like that, like from QE and from Nathan Oakley and FED. Like, I'm not telling you to or whatever. I'm just saying, like, I think you probably should. because what's happening is flat earthers are becoming desensitized to like toxic behavior. And I've been guilty as well, where I'll go into certain debate places and I'll start kind of like getting like more and more toxic or low vibrational talking to these people. You see how like interacting to this is still brought out this like weird vibe. If you go look at me at the beginning of the chat, at the beginning of the video, to where like towards the end, you're going to see that like my vibration is being messed with. And I think everyone should elevate above it. We don't need to capitulate. Some people say, I love seeing the Globers like eviscerated. Well, first of all, he doesn't let the Globers actually talk and make their argument most of the time. But who cares? The globe earth argument's easy to refute. You don't have to be like really abusive and toxic and like scream and cuss and ask people how your balls taste and say you're going to drag your balls on their eviscerated corpse and all this stuff. It's a bad look for flat earth. You guys need to step up if you actually want to wake people up. You need to be adults. You need to like be respectful to people, be loving of people, and try and wake them up, right? And we need to make progressions. There's all kinds of new things and new like corrections we need to make, like the word flat earth itself. The idea of just making like thinking that the earth is an object, not really acknowledging things like this energetic background. And is it a type of fluid like the heavenly waters? But heavenly, there is an application of it, meaning the unseen existences, meaning it's all around us and above us, right? And so there's all kinds of different things that we can start to learn about the nature of where we live and what's in the center. And we can show like there's a quadrupole. There looks like there's a quadrupole magnetic distribution. And so then if we put four corner or square magnets together, we get our four corners. But then you can have like graphite or something in the center and it'll float, just like they say that the mountain does. And then we can think about the vortex. And when we start to like, even if it requires initial speculation or inductive reasoning, we can start to put pieces together and learn. And maybe we can start to figure out this energy crisis and we can become more sustainable. We just need to grow as people. We need to try to bring people to the light, to the truth. We don't need to let people that are in denial of truth get all of our energy. And we don't need people that are doing this kind of stuff get all of our energy either. And so, you know, their whole thing is they think they're going to come dictate what everyone's going to say, but just show them that they're not, just by ignoring them. I won't be responding to them anymore. This channel will just be us elevating towards more truth. It will just be us learning more. It will just be positive vibrations, intellectual endeavors where we're not going to talk about the same exact thing over and over and over every day. We're going to talk about all kinds of different gravy. And it's going to be cool. And we're going to do a lot of different. I think that Dave Weiss and I and Jaron and Hibbler are doing something Thursday night, talking to a guy on his show. I guess I was supposed to say that. I don't know. So that should be cool. Stay tuned for that Thursday night. I'm doing a debate tonight. Like I said, it may not be for you, but Circle of the Earth Fellowship. It's about the idea of, you know, did the Messiah come in 70 AD and start the millennial reign? So that'll be interesting conversation. Some people say that we've already been in the millennial reign, and then Tartaria was like all these buildings built during the millennial reign, and now like the devil is being loosed out, Satan's being loosed out. I don't know. They all have different opinions, but anyway, like I'm saying that's not the case, and then the person I'm debating saying it is, and so we'll look into it. I mean, not to like try to overly ridicule it, because I mean they think they have some pieces of info, but anyways, this should be kind of interesting. Cool stuff, man. So yeah, thank you guys for kicking it. I'll do that stream tonight, and then I'll try and do another stream tomorrow. Then of course we have Glowbusters tomorrow. And yeah, like I said, I won't be addressing anymore, no matter how desperately they try to get my attention, no matter how long they keep talking about me or trying to make videos or hit pieces or anything like that. That comment really stuck out to me, and I was kind of feeling the same way anyway. So we're elevating above it. I mean, you know, we may address it on Glowbusters or something, but because there's a big audience there, to just kind of address it instead of ignoring it. But I will be moving on overall. So thank you guys for kicking it. This thoroughly exposes that whole situation. And like I said, it's sad to be so dishonest, but pride and ego will get you. And anyone that can't like let someone talk and screams and cusses at the top of their lungs to where you can tell the spit and slobber is just coming out of their mouth probably. And they just imagine stepping outside and seeing QE during that presentation or during his other presentations from the outside. He would look like an actual crazy person, the way that he's just like, what is he like, hunched over, standing and screaming? And it's like, you don't want to be like that. You don't want to be like that. And I have texts from him, I have messages from him admitting that light could be instant, and that debunks his whole little worldview. And then once I pointed that out, now they're all claiming that they never said that. And I think he deleted this guy, but I have to find it. I think I already had the screenshot somewhere else though. And then I have him admitting the electrostatics thing. So it's like, it's just weird and lame, and they're lying a lot. You the man, praise God. Thank you for the super chat, El Shaddai Most High. So like, yeah, we'll just rise above it, man. Like, I'm in a great time in my life. My wife, I have a beautiful wife. She's pregnant, due December 26th. And yeah, I'd rather just keep elevating with positive vibrations and keep learning things. So that's what we're going to do. I don't want to be too redundant, but thank you guys for kicking it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, it might not be for everyone, and it was very long because like it was impressive how much was put together in the form of straw mans. Of course, the rest of the show is just a bunch of them chanting and saying that I was wrong about a bunch of stuff and lying and personally attacking me and talking about how stupid I am and how much I contradicted myself, all built upon the whole first part of it, just lying about everything that I said. And so anyone that's honest will see that they're lying. And if you want to turn your head to it because of pride and ego, because you said that you were going to support them, or because you've bashed me or whatever, that's your own prerogative. I encourage everyone to be their own person. And that's about it. So I think we should rise above it from this point forward. All right, cool. So thanks for kicking it. We also did a debate last night, Karen B and I, on modern day debate. So you can go check that out, modern day debate. I had like a migraine after that. Yeah, it was crazy. You guys can't say I'm not trying to put in work for you guys since I've come back, because I have. I did a debate against Brian, then I'm doing a debate tonight, and I did a debate last night. So debate against Brian, debate on modern day debate, then debate last night, and then of course I did a stream right before that addressing this nonsense, and then addressing it again, now doing another debate tonight. So yeah, I'm trying to really keep you guys in the loop. And we're going to be bringing the shows out soon. We'll be introducing them, and they'll be consistent. So it'll kind of be more of like a TV show type vibe. Lots of cool stuff coming. Lots of guests coming. Lots of presentations coming. Lots of appearances on other shows coming. So yeah, and if you guys would like to support the channel and support all that, so I'm able to do it, that would be greatly appreciated. You can do so on Cash App, $WitsitGetsIt. On Cash App, you can also go to PayPal. You can go to paypal.me/inaworld, which I will drop in the chat right now. So you can go to paypal.me/inaworld if you would like to support the channel that way. You can also sign up in the description to become a member of the chat, a monthly ordeal, and there's different levels, and you become a little miswit. And you can also go to patreon.com/witsitgetsit. So yeah, cool. You can also go send money through Zelle with a message if you want me to read it off at witsit@protonmail.com. So cool. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the content coming. I think we have a lot of good stuff that you guys will enjoy. It should be cool. And I'll read off any donations that have anything typed out that they want me to read in the next live stream. I'm kind of wore out. I need to eat, and then I have another again, I have the debate tonight at 9. So thank you guys for kicking it. Seek and speak truth unequivocally. The weak find contentment in the consensus of ignorance. Bless you and yours in Yeshua's name. Thank you very much for the super chat. El Shaddai Most High. Seek and speak truth unequivocally. The weak find contentment in the consensus of ignorance. And do not ever let your pride or ego like confine you or make it to where you cannot walk back something that you once thought, or that you can't keep growing. If we did that, most of us would have never even found out about the earth, right? Pride and ego is very detrimental to the pursuit of truth. And Hosea 4:6 says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And since you have turned from that knowledge, I will turn from you. And so it's important to always keep an open heart, open mind, and then have a spirit of truth. Always search for the truth diligently and represent it once you find it. And always be willing to admit and humble yourself that maybe I need to learn more. Maybe I was a little bit misguided, or maybe I'm just still growing. You know, and intelligent people don't care what dumb people think. Strong people don't care what weak people think. Informed people don't care what ignorant people think. So don't worry about what other people say. Don't conform to about what other people say, or like conform to what they tell you to think, right? Just continue to look for the truth regardless. And actually, whenever they revile you for his name's sake, rejoice, for they did it to all the prophets before you. So until next time, I'll catch up with you guys if you want to watch the debate tonight. And I'll stream with you later. Love you guys. Peace out.
Geopolitically, we in a field that's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Rappers acting, say they high, say they sip pills. Glorify suicide so they get the pharma set it up, had to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Took the way you saw the world, then distorted it. Now you think you wanna rock that twirl somewhere orbiting. Theories disproportionate, the truth distorted quick with a forceful grip. They force a simple that we absorbing quick. Took the people's signature, that mean extorted it. They forging it, if news ain't good informants who informing them. There's a surplus, but they tell us there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what's important is this, we port and ships important. Yes, of course it is, but extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks we ignoring, which informing this, informant this. It looked like we were snoring tricked. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilify those insubordinate. Way to matrix engineer, that's unfortunate. Geopolitically, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Rappers actors say they high, say they sip with pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real?